What the fuck is up, everybody? It's the Devil's Work podcast, and this is a very, very special episode because it's the first time we're all under the same roof.
Yeah, this has never happened before.
This is insane.
This is every Saturday for you two, but it's very special for me.
Yeah, we flew him in from the Bay. We're recovering from my record release party from last night, so we're coming off.
Went very well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was a really great time.
Everyone had an amazing time. I had a blast.
It's been a jam-packed weekend. It's been a very busy 48 hours for me and Amanda.
And stressing and going. Yeah, anyway, but today, this is going to be our very first live recording of The Devil's Work, so no edits, baby.
That's right.
We are here to talk about Nope. And this is, what better occasion than the 13th episode to do this? As the viewers will be able to see, I have 13 tatted on my hand. It's a very special number to me. So,
what an occasion. There are viewers.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's really cool. But this is a very big episode for us in a lot of ways. This is also one of the first, I would say, more modern films with the most
very freshly out.
The most modern we've covered as of this recording.
Yeah, it came out 2 months ago at most.
The most contemporary film that we've covered.
Yeah,
for sure.
And we decided to go all out.
Well, we're just so fucking excited about it.
Absolutely.
Nope, which to us is a resounding yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we got in. Well, you got in Friday night, and we all kind of just sat around and had a great time, had some drinks, had some smoke.
We just vibed until about 2:30 in the morning, and then we started the movie. We had a blast watching this. I saw this movie 4 times in theaters, and I could have absolutely watched it another 4. And you watched it twice on Friday.
Yeah. So full disclosure, finished my notes for the movie, picked him up from the airport, and then we came back, watched it again.
Yeah.
That was
love
my
this.
second viewing.
Yeah,
so I've
second
seen it
for me as well.
3 times now because I watched it again for notes, and I would say seeing it in the theater is a definite first way to see it because it's immense.
Yeah. If only everyone, yes, it is. If only everyone could experience it that way, honestly. But it's
and then with headphones to get those little details is a good second.
Yeah.
way.
And honestly, your guys' home theater was not a bad second viewing for us.
It's my favorite place to watch movies.
I could feel it in my bones.
Absolutely.
We get that bass shaker going.
Yeah.
Yep. So obviously you can hear. It is a resounding yes from all of us.
Yeah.
We love this movie so much. I don't even know. Do we want to give a small synopsis?
It's hard to. It's not a movie where you can really say anything about it.
You just really gotta go in.
There's a family and they are show business adjacent with their work, and the father passes away in a freak accident, and the children are left to try and keep things going, and they both clearly only have parts of the skill set of their father.
Yeah.
And that is the human background to which all of these other events kind of play.
Yeah, we've been making the joke around here. Thank you, Podfather. Called it Sky Jaws.
Yeah, totally.
It's basically a creature feature.
You could also technically, it's Cowboys versus Aliens.
Yeah, but good.
They're cowboys in a sense. They're Hollywood horse trainers. So
Yeah. It's one that you definitely benefit from knowing as little as possible. I watched 30 seconds of the first trailer that they ever did, and there was just a part where they're looking up, and I was just no, I feel like I know too much already, so I'm just turning this off and I know I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, I've done that with
I've seen Get Out. I know I'm going to watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not a Jordan Peele movie I would not.
That's exactly
run
what
to go
that's
see.
Exactly what I was going to say. Anything that this man touches, he has my money forever now. So.
Yeah.
But if you guys haven't seen this, we would recommend highly that you go in and check this out before coming back and listening to it. But this is going to be a very thick episode.
This gets that man bites dog stamp.
Yes.
Like just
Like the length.
You have to experience this.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I don't think I've ever seen a movie so tightly packed with symbolism and homage and just it was made by someone who clearly loves movies.
It ends up referencing like the totality of film history.
Absolutely.
Like, even
yeah.
with literally saying like this was the very first,
Set of
quote
images.
motion picture, and then just going through all these little tiny nods to just everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Literally everything. Like we called out like 20 movies in the first like 15 minutes of this thing. We were just like, oh, that's that. That's this. That's that.
What we were saying with the Podpa is it's Jaws. There was a second movie that I'm blanking
Tremors.
on. Tremors was the third one. That was the missing piece of the puzzle. So it was Jaws,
definitely.
Tremors, and there was one other movie that we were like, these would be the three that you could like distill it down to the most at its roots.
I feel like those are the because creature feature set in the daylight.
Yeah,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? Like,
and it has that like Bert versus all the Tremors kind of climax.
Yeah, exactly.
in the valley, yeah.
In the valley,
out in the
yeah.
middle of there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and there's
It's from above instead of below. It's just the perfect.
Yeah, it's the opposite. It's not
Yeah.
the vibrations, but it's the same difference.
Yeah.
Where it's like if
exactly.
you're just down here, because it's like it doesn't see. I don't think it sees. It has senses we maybe can't comprehend.
Yeah.
It doesn't appear to have eyeballs and like rods and cones.
Yeah,
so it's not like
just a creature.
it's feeling you somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, when you walk in that range, you're in the danger zone.
You gotta walk without rhythm.
Yeah. That's okay. We're all white.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, the movie, like we said, this is just us talking about the overall arc of it, but when we start peeling this thing apart, you guys are going to see it really Hey.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Now tell me
Continue.
what's the key to this film?
Yeah, but you guys should definitely go check this out if you haven't yet. For those watching, enjoy our pretty faces for the very first time. So yeah, should we start this off?
Do we
Yeah.
have any trigger warnings?
Okay, thank you. So yes, but that's what I'm saying.
There's violence to and from animals.
Yeah,
That's definitely a thing. There's sort of that like
There's vaping if you give a shit about that kind of thing. On and off the pod. In the movie and on the pod.
on the
I
pod.
feel like there's like an element of exploitation that's like not in the same way as like 70s exploitation films, but it's like they are being exploited
There's
by
a comment.
Jupe.
Yeah, there's
So
a
there's
comment.
just sort of
on
this
exploitation.
like yeah, for sure. It's not as centralized as like in Get Out, where race is so obviously like a big part of it, but like it absolutely does
It's
play a
woven into
factor.
the history
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
filmmaking.
Yeah.
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 So I mean, if take that into consideration, if you will. But honestly, this is one of the more, like, I would say, palatable movies that we've covered on the show without like having to verbally
There's
express.
a couple big set pieces that would sort of be in line with like you would hold it in the same regard as like the end of Inside, where it's like that's like the big one that if you were to sell this movie by the spectacle, which is funny because it's a movie where you don't want to do that because you want people to be able to experience
go see
it.
it.
But if you wanted to say, hey, there's this big scene, like there's a couple that would kind of fit in with like the other movies we covered, what you would call the big scenes of each of those movies.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But like you said, a lot more gentle.
This is a lot more gentle. This is just a lot more fun.
Yeah.
I think this movie is just pure fun.
Absolutely.
So, without further ado, here we go. We open with the sounds of a television show entitled Gordy's Home playing faintly as a production company title cards appear on the screen. Just before we're met with a biblical quote. It says, "I will cast abominable filth at you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle." And it's Nahum 3:6. I looked it up, and that was a biblical verse, right? I have
Yes,
no idea.
it's from the prophet.
Evelyn's
I leave this to you guys.
It's a quote from the prophet Nahum.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, who I'm not very
I don't know who that is.
acquainted with. Yeah, that wasn't a book name that I recognized.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh well. But it's kind of setting up the theme, though. We see glimpses of the aftermath of a bloody chimp attack on a film set. There's a focus on a shoe that's standing straight up amidst the chaos. The animal shakes the foot of a corpse before taking off a birthday hat and looking straight down the barrel of the camera. Cut to a title card, a Jordan Peele film. I love that so much. We meet Otis Jr., or OJ, as he's performing his duties around the family farm, tending to horses and generally doing a lot of lifting. His father, Otis Sr., is training a horse when we're introduced to him. He tells OJ that they need to prepare to impress a new production company with the next project in order for them to be brought back for a sequel, ensuring that they don't have to keep selling horses in order to maintain the farm.
So there's this indication that Haywood Ranch is not doing great.
Yeah.
But they've been in this business a long time.
Yeah. I love the very first line out of his character is got to keep our heads about the clouds for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Huge.
And I'm always so happy when I see him in anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like,
absolutely.
It was funny when they show the credits later on, like his name doesn't come up for a while, and I was like, give this man Billy. Give this man his dough. Then it came up, and I was like, all right.
Yeah, I like there's this subtle undercurrent of like he's sort of chiding his son OJ, like, are you good?
Mm-hmm.
Are we, are you gonna do better on this one?
Yeah.
Sort of. There's this indication that maybe OJ isn't stepping up to the plate as the assistant who's gonna eventually take over this business.
Yeah.
And then he's also like, "Where's your sister? Like, what's
Yeah.
up with that? Where is she all the time?" And he's like, "I don't know."
It's that familial pressure of like having worked in a family business myself, where it's
Yeah.
just like, from age 14, they were like, so you're just going to work for us.
Right. I need you to step up into my shoes.
And it's like, maybe you don't want to do that, like it's not the Middle Ages anymore. We don't all just have to be blacksmiths.
Right.
Like, you know
yeah.
what
I don't
what
have
mean?
to be a barrel maker also.
Yeah. But, OJ obviously has connections to the animals, whether it's enough to make it, his career is kind of a separate issue. But definitely that element of the familial pressure kind of.
Yeah, he's more connected to the animal training side of it than he is to interacting with the people and the business and all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, his like I said, his kids kind of each get parts of the puzzle. Maybe not the full thing even between them.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Should we bring up the theory about OJ?
I was wondering that. I feel like that informs so much.
Yeah.
Like, to say it now. You
Yeah.
know.
So we've read here a theory online. I don't exactly know where it originated from.
There's already so much written
Yeah, I
about
was
this.
gonna say,
there's a lot
so
of really
many
awesome
articles.
thoughts
It's
to like.
so good.
Yeah.
There's a read on his character being on the spectrum, and sort of there's sort of tells that you can kind of notice in the movie if you kind of watch it back again with that lens.
He's very stoic and very serious, and he's not very interested in making eye contact or talking to people that he doesn't have to talk to.
And it's like, especially when you've seen Daniel Kaluuya in other things, that like it's not
How his character normally is. Or
it's not a mark on his acting. He is not under emoting. This is who OJ is.
Exactly.
And, having like told me about this right before we started watching. From the very first scene, it just feels like unavoidable. He's like avoiding eye contact with his father, which when you're not like looking for it, just seems like a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
But then you just, throughout the whole movie, you see all these very subtle cues, and it's...
Yeah. He's very restrained. He's just... Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I having that read on it, it really does... It makes you look at the characters and their motivations sort of differently. But definitely explains a little more for their, like... the jumping in action sort of like scenario. Like they just straight turn to like problem solving. It's not just like free, especially him when they start noticing the danger as it comes up.
It explains why so much seems intuitive for him.
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
if like
Yeah.
He was born to handle this problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's perfect for him.
Yeah, especially if like it seems like his like special thing, because people on the spectrum often have sort of a special interest or a special skill. Not everyone.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not everybody is Rain Man, and that's a harmful way to like think and generalize.
Yeah, exactly.
But sometimes people do have just like an affinity because of that, and it seems like
They get hyper focused on
that's
on
his
one thing,
affinity
yeah.
is like his connection to these horses.
Absolutely. So the scene is interrupted when OJ's phone cuts out while he's checking it. Like
I love in this scene that his dad he's sitting on his horse and he's just like watching the sky the whole time. Just sort of like
yeah.
After saying, keep your head out of the
Keep
clouds.
your head out of the
he
clouds.
said.
Seriously, yep. And I put like a vacuum seal. It feels like the air gets sucked out of the entire scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the I'm
They're-
sorry, I get lost in my notes.
That mechanism that exercises the horses shuts down too.
Yeah, the
Everything
walker.
electric shuts out.
Yeah.
And he's like, I told you to fix that, which like
He
you
was
said.
literally just fixing it too.
Yeah.
It was functioning.
That's
Yeah,
so
and then
funny.
like you said, that's the gentle kind of chiding.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't really notice it at first, the first time I watched it, but like any scene where you see the dad, he's sort of like lecturing the kids a bit.
Like, hey, come on, guys, let's pick it up.
Let's go. We got
That's
shit
true,
to
yeah.
do.
Like
Yeah, that's
not
true.
even trying to like put them down, but just trying to motivate them.
Yeah.
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 So shrapnel of some kind begins falling all around him, sounding like bullets hitting the ground.
Yeah, and cutting through the air.
It's so cool. It's so like you're just like, what the fuck is happening? Otis Sr. is struck and he falls off his horse. He's rushed to the hospital where he passes away, unfortunately.
That's a very
It's
intense
a tough scene.
because OJ's
Insanely.
driving him and he's like getting him to. He's like, keep talking, tell me all
He's
the.
naming the horses that they have. Those
Yeah,
are
and
he's like remembering all the names very.
And you can see, I didn't notice this the first time either, but like his head is against the window and there's actually
Blood spurting.
Big, yeah.
spurts coming out of his face.
Yeah, we definitely caught that on the first viewing and we're like horrified.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
exactly.
this is
It's like,
really
God.
bad.
It's like, oh my god!
I didn't expect it to just drop into like some gore like this,
Because you have the opening scene with the monkey or the chimp being like so like jarring. You're like, what the
You
fuck?
get both. That's shocking. And
Yeah,
this
and
is
you're just like,
shocking.
oh shit, and then it's like gentle, nice, and like here's a family
It
and a
just
farm,
drops
and
you.
it's just like, boom, here we go with some horror shit. It's like, oh my god.
And the way we kind of brushed past it, but the way that like as everything is falling and OJ is like looking around, we like hear the one that hits his dad, and
We
then
don't see it happen.
Yeah,
Right.
and the way that they like blocked the shot in terms of like placing people.
Yeah.
The horse, when it starts walking in response to, because his body probably twitched when that happened
Yeah.
and like set the horse off to start moving. So he's right behind OJ's head, and then you see the horse kind of walk off and take some steps, and OJ turns around like, what's going on? Like he's probably thinking, why would you tell the horse to like start walking?
Yeah.
And then just the slump, that stunt
It's
actor
so good.
absolutely killed that like
Yeah.
limp body fall. Like it's so real.
It doesn't. Yeah, it
You
doesn't
know?
feel like a stunt like throw. He just
Falling
like,
off a horse
slumped
doesn't
and then
sound like that impressive of a stunt,
Yeah.
but like realistically, you could
It's
probably
very
get hurt.
eerie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's oof.
So we see OJ sitting in front of his father's body, and then an X-ray immediately following it, showing a small rounded object.
Yeah, we see the incision kind of in his eye where they tried to stitch it while they still had hope that he would survive.
Kind of like my scars.
Yeah, yeah, you see it like across the eyeball and the eyelid, and
It just
then
went straight into his eye socket.
yeah, and it's such a masterful show not tell moment of like we're wondering what the hell just happened.
Yeah, exactly.
We see his face. We're like, okay, something fell through his eye.
Yeah, usually you'll get like the doctor explaining something right here.
Th-
like-
this is
need
this is
that.
a rare phenomena. Let's
yeah, exactly.
And then it shows the X-ray, and then we see a bag with a
The
coin
nickel.
in it.
It's a nickel. It's so harrowing.
And now
You're just
and
like,
your brain through these real quick images, just like you know, what
You're
we're going to
playing
cover
catch
with the
up.
horse jockey. It's just these quick still images that tell a story.
Exactly. It's revealed to be a nickel in the next scene when OJ is holding it in a plastic bag and sitting in his car.
He's already back at the ranch. He's
He's-
like, in a
he
matter
just
of
pulled up.
seconds, he lost his dad, and now he's back home.
Covered in blood. Covered in his
it's-
dad's blood.
Oh god, it's such a good fucking like imagery. It's so fucking shocking.
I'm just now realizing that this movie is like one of the rare movies that doesn't go, oh, but we got to have a 15-minute funeral scene now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
we
yeah,
really
yeah,
got to get in
absolutely,
there
yeah.
and make sure you know that, like, this is a loss that has been accounted for, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like-
Well, no, because you kind of get that with like the tenderness between the siblings after following. Like, I really feel like that was their form of doing that.
Yeah.
you know what I
Anything
mean?
that you can figure out would obviously happen. Just
Yeah,
you can assume
Yeah, totally.
happened.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate that as
Yeah.
an audience member.
So he looks over to the horse his father was riding, and it's bleeding from a wound inflicted by a key that's still lodged in its hind
Yeah,
leg.
a house key.
House key.
Just sticking out of his side. Yeah.
Title card, welcome to Nope.
Yeah.
I love that mic drop ending. Beginning. I mean, it's fucking,
Yeah.
it's so good.
I wonder if this can be compared at all to, because it's like a phenomenon. A bunch of stuff fell out of the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they could hear, there was like a little bit of a sound coming out of the sky because his dad was like, did you hear that?
Yeah.
It was like a
you
sort
do
of like,
hear the
it sounds
faint,
like
the
wind
faint winning, yeah.
whistling through something, or like a little bit like screams, kind of. It sounds like both that they did
Spoiler
notice.
alert, it's
Yeah.
horse. It's a horse.
But it is considered, I think, by the characters to be some sort of strange phenomenon that happened, like something falling out of a plane or something. But it reminds me of like there's this historical event called the Kentucky Meat Rain.
Yep. Yep.
That was in the 1800s, back before you could like, you know, investigate shit. And before airplanes really were flying around doing shit. But yeah, like a bunch of meat fell out of the sky in Kentucky.
And it was like jelly. It was like jelly consistency meat.
I did hear something
raining.
about
Yeah.
this. Yeah, I did hear something
And of
about
course, somebody tasted it, and they're like, it tastes like pork to me. Okay, well, that doesn't tell us anything.
this. That's
Yeah.
wild.
You have to try the sky meat.
I think I
Sky
can't remember what ends up being like anything even resembling an explanation, but I do remember that I think somehow they figured out it was like sheep meat.
Wild.
Yeah.
They
That's
called
so-
in a meat expert to be
Mu-
like,
mutton, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
but that could be
Yeah.
like, does that come from a flock of birds that dropped it, or is it like
I
high
you
up
know
from
what?
like
I
a hurricane or something?
I think that is what it is that it was like a type of vulture that like
Just,
vomits. And so it was like partially digested
Yeah.
mutton with enzymes covering it. And yeah, that dude ate it. I remember that. There's an episode of Do Go On about this.
This is a thing that we do as humans.
Yeah.
So then we have an insanely cool opening credits sequence
Very
with an
cool.
eerie as fuck score. It's so cool. I like, you don't know really what you're looking at if you haven't seen this. Like,
yeah.
It's a window, a square.
of sorts.
It-
Yeah, a square. Yeah.
It almost feels like a hallway in a haunted house is like what I felt like, is like almost like there is sort of a sense of verticality. I feel like when you're looking at it, even though it's just you're looking down this shape.
And you can tell it's like, but from the audio and the way it's like flapping in the wind, you can tell that it's like at night outside somewhere.
Yeah,
Somehow.
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
It's interesting how much of this is just sensory, like intuition, and being able to like craft something that you can reliably be like, people are going to know that this is outside at night. And
Yeah,
that you're-
The
exactly.
sound design is
Yeah.
very good.
That's exactly
yeah,
what I was gonna
it's
say.
the scoring and the sound design are just
Fucking
off
perfect.
the chain in this
It's
movie.
Yeah,
insane.
Michael
ridiculous.
Abel's composer for all three
They
of Jordan
they put
Peele's
the
films.
soundscape on the chain wax.
So we then it opens, or well, the title sequence ends with showing the aforementioned images of the black jockey on the horse.
The
Mm-hmm.
very
The
first
very first
Motion picture.
Motion picture.
Which is so funny because it feels so unsettling, even though it's like just pictures. But then it's like in a minute when we get into the history of it, like it is unsettling. It is actually
Exactly.
it is
Yeah.
actually kind of like a horror film in a way.
Absolutely.
You know?
So we see OJ on a film set preparing a horse from the family farm for a big role.
This is probably the gig that his dad was talking to him about
Yeah.
preparing for.
Yeah. You get the sense that it's been like maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
It's been a little while.
Yeah, it hasn't been very long.
It's been long enough that OJ and M are running the show.
Yeah,
and-
I
but-
think there's a line of dialogue where they say on set that they said we lost, or he died a couple months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because the director's like, where the fuck is the senior guy? Where's the boss? And they're like, oh yeah, he died very rudely in front of OJ.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, so
Just-
we're stuck with Junior.
Yeah, and the director's like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
As though, I don't know if the indication is that he's just like, he doesn't like the unexpected
Yeah.
thing, or that he knows OJ and knows
Isn't
that he's
competent or
not
something.
necessarily the best person for the job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the crew isn't pleased, and they're also not treating OJ very
That's
well.
Yeah.
Literally, my next note was he's being blatantly disrespected by the crew at every turn, and then is abruptly asked to conduct a safety meeting for everyone.
Yeah, he's trying to wait for his sister, but she's late, and he's like, I have to do this myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, God.
And he's so quiet. He doesn't have the presence to be like, everybody listen up, these are the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has the one side of the skill set, and it's not
Yeah.
just an animal business; it's an animal and people business.
And
Yeah.
people.
And he's
Yeah.
constantly having to tell them to like stay away from the horse, don't look him in the
Yeah.
eye, like give him his space. He needs a break, and none of that is coming across.
Yeah.
Like no one is listening.
Yeah, and I feel like it should be said, like we were just saying, the movie's so masterful at showing and not telling. But then when it does have to tell, because how else are you going to get that information across unless we show a funeral and we do all this and we do that? And it's like, yeah, when a line of dialogue will suffice, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you can do something more interesting, he always takes that approach.
Yep.
Absolutely. And there's also that not only is he very soft spoken, but they're not respecting him as an animal trainer, and they're not respecting him as a black man either. It's like
Yeah.
an all white crew.
Yeah.
And they're just sort of like awkwardly around him, and
Yeah.
like the fact that his name is OJ, they're like, that's your name?
Yeah.
It's like all this
Yeah,
awkward.
that-
Yeah, which
That's such a fucked up
the
joke.
names in this movie even are so purposeful. Like everything
Absolutely.
about this has layers.
We have
It's-
OJ, Emerald, Angel. Who else am I missing? Otis Senior, but
yeah.
And antlers.
Antlers.
Yeah.
And then we have Antlers.
Antlers, yeah.
But we'll get to them.
Oh,
We'll get to
man, I
Antlers.
just
Antlers is here right now. He's in this. He's in this scene, but
It's funny because I just put something together as in terms of his name, because we were talking the other night about how like spectacle is such a center point here, and how, you know, O.J. Simpson is a spectacle. So being named O.J.,
Yeah.
that's really your name?
Yeah, and he's like,
Okay.
well, my name is Otis Jr., so
Yeah,
Yeah,
and an
I don't know what to
emerald
tell you.
is like a precious gem, and so obviously people clamor for that.
yeah,
and an
there's
angel.
also that Wizard of Oz thing. With
Yeah.
M.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She goes
totally.
by M. There's so
Emerald.
many little
Yeah. Yeah.
references.
And then
Exactly.
angel, which, you know, speaks for itself. So
Yeah.
it's just like this interesting, so many different layers, so many ways to pick it apart, to the point that like I have a hard time seeing someone online who actually has a take that I can like really totally argue against.
Yeah.
It's really just there's nothing here people that I'm like, what?
Yeah, people who say that anything in this, any aspect of this movie doesn't have meaning, it is made of meaning.
Yeah.
I want whatever they're smoking.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've been that destroyed.
I know you guys asked me to bring this up, so I'm going to bring it up really quick. Is the director of this TV spot, which is some kind of like, they're having the horse stand in front of a green screen, so they,
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck they're making, but it's
something.
yeah.
And you see a wave in the monitor.
The horse is
like-
in front of an ocean wave.
Yeah, maybe it's supposed to be like a a cowboy on a surfboard on a horse, like
Something-
something goofy and
Something
weird like that.
stupid.
Something that's such an asinine representation of even this like majestic animal.
And they
Yeah.
ask him too, how are we looking at antlers? He's like, good if we're selling a horse's ass.
Antlers
Yeah.
is the cinematographer who's clearly doing one for the reel. One for the meal, I should say. He doesn't
One
want to
for
be here.
the-
But the director in this for this TV spot is played by Osgood Perkins, who is a horror director himself, and he's the son of Anthony Perkins, who played Norman Bates in Psycho. So kind of a
wild.
cool little cameo for him to do.
Wild.
Yeah.
In this just like overall, deconstruction of the history of film, to have that
Just
like
all packed in there. in a moment.
foundational
Yeah.
legacy.
This
Yeah.
really is one big love letter to filmmaking. Like,
Yeah,
and on every single level.
absolutely.
So clearly uncomfortable.
Very
He-
uncomfortable.
He begins his speech by saying his sister will be there any minute to talk to them. And then Emerald finally runs onto set, apologizing for being late.
And she saves him. He is floundering up
is,
there.
yeah.
He's like, did you know that the first collection of
And then in the back,
images and
can you speak up? We can't hear you on set. It's like, Jesus,
yeah, and he's looking down a lot, and he's just very,
dude. Yeah.
you,
It's really, it's
you
really
feel
hard.
really
one.
really bad for him.
Then M comes in and saves the day.
Yeah, with that natural showmanship.
Yeah, she is extremely charming.
So
Yeah,
charming. I
and-
love Kiki Palmer so much.
And she really is like the other side of the spectrum for him, even down to like displaying so many
No,
classic.
she's
like,
hyper and distracted
Yeah.
and always wants to have fun. And
Yeah.
Yeah. She
Totally.
begins explaining their family's long lineage of horse trainers, going back to the very first assembly of photographs ever put into a sequential order, creating a motion picture, which were the images of a black jockey riding a horse, which we saw right after the opening sequence. And his name was Alistair E. Haywood, their great grandfather, because it was another great.
Yeah, I love that. The seamless interplay between them. I saw something recently that was like talking about video game acting, and it was like often it's like, this is my line of dialogue. Wow, this is my line of dialogue. And then he was like, this is like Metal Gear or something, where they're interrupting each other and going back in Last of Us, and it's like, this is how people talk.
Yeah.
This is how people
Yeah.
interact.
Exactly.
And you get so much of that from their chemistry.
I noticed why she got that wrong. She said that was my great grandfather. The reason she
watching the
said
movie.
that wrong is that she and her brother learned that speech from a video tape that their father made for their business, and that's what he says. So they're like parroting his lines, and they forget to add another generation
Yeah.
because they're the younger ones. You
Yep.
see her watching the video later, and he's saying that. So
that's a really
Yeah.
good catch.
yeah, they've just been learning
Yeah.
this stuff from their dad all these years.
And it's interesting because it seems like M doesn't want to be a part of it, but then you see
Yeah.
that, which shows that she does, but she's just very conflicted. And that's the thing. You're the son of a cobbler, but you don't want to be a cobbler, but you don't
Yeah.
want your
Yeah.
father's shoe shop to close
Right.
down.
She wanted to be involved, but she wasn't involved in the way that she wanted to be. So she's like, "Well, I gotta go do something else."
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he was the first stuntman, animal wrangler, and movie star all rolled into one.
And I think she said maybe even like director too, because I think he might have shot the.
No, that was the other. That was the. She said, "You all know the grandfather of film."
Oh, okay.
And
okay,
yeah,
okay,
she
okay.
says, "Who shot the motion picture?"
Yeah.
But then
okay,
he
okay,
was.
okay.
the reason that they made that clip, well, they didn't know it was a clip at the time, but they, I guess Muybridge had a bet with some other guys about whether when a horse gallops, all its feet leave the ground at the same time.
That's right.
So they set up a row of cameras so that they could take the photo. They had no idea that they were making something else, but they were
motion
just
picture.
like, if we get all these photos, we should be able to catch the moment when all the feet are off the ground. So that's why they made that.
That's interesting.
And they accidentally made motion
They
pictures.
stumbled onto movies.
Yeah.
That's
They're like,
so cool.
oh, these move together. Cool.
Yeah.
That's like the coolest thing. Like, as a person without like a belief system, I always find like the endurance of like the human spirit and like the things that we can make when we're trying like really focused. Like that's the thing that always like I find comfort in.
Yeah.
And like it's really cool how often there's that thing of like, oh, I'm trying to do this, but like, whoa,
I accidentally created. Yeah,
I just changed the world.
Yeah. But there's built into this history with their family, like the sort of erasure of black creatives in, you know,
of black excellence.
Yeah. They
Yep.
just get kind of pushed to the side, even though they're contributing in this major way.
Yeah.
And that's been their whole family history. And yeah,
Literally.
And I saw someone bring up online like there's not really a way to prove that. Maybe they're just saying that, but like I choose to believe them.
yeah.
I don't see why that would. I don't like they. Nothing about the rest of the movie makes them liars, but then
They would know that.
you do-
If anyone would know,
Yeah.
it would be
Yeah,
them.
absolutely.
metatextually though, you could see how it's like with the things that they'll do later, there is that element of people will not believe us unless there's absolute proof.
I absolutely don't believe some of the things that Jupe has said to create his
Yeah, and-
show that he
Yeah.
made.
Yeah, he's the liar.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is the funny thing. But
Yeah, and he's the successful businessman, and that's the trade-off. You can like live your truth and struggle to get by, or you can
Be honest.
a businessman. Like, yeah,
oh god, a theme in this movie?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't expect that.
So M finishes the speech, but not before promoting her many talents that she
Yeah.
does for work. I
Singing on the side.
I put side work, but I know that she says the line later on that this isn't my side work. Like,
yeah. She has many sources of income. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's like, I'll even do crafty. Hit me up. I make a mean grilled cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Terrible.
she quickly abandons OJ and goes over to talk to somebody, and he's
Yeah.
like, he needs her to be there to be the safety representative.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So OJ is trying to get her attention when she walks away.
And they're like, the crew moves in. He's like, the horse needs a break, and they're like,
Yeah.
we're gonna go for one. Tell the horse we're ready.
Yeah, tell the horse we're ready. And even that is like such a just like because you guys speak the same language, right?
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
doesn't
It's
that
just all
doesn't
this
feel
assumption
good.
that-
That
yeah.
doesn't feel like a
Absolutely
thing you should say to
They're
somebody.
not trying
Yeah.
to understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like in a chat, like I don't know. There's ways where that's like cute and funny to say, but like it wasn't in this
No.
instance.
Yeah, and this scene is shot very POV, so like anytime the crew are talking to OJ, you get that view that he sees with all these people like
And it's so
staring
crowded.
dumbly at
Yeah.
him.
And even he kind of, from what I remember, because of like where he's standing, when you see him looking at M like really desperately, you can see like sort of how like our light is. Like you could see some of the lights back there and
Yeah.
how that's like
Yeah.
affecting his vision.
Yeah,
and,
and
he's
she's
getting
all the way back
overstimmed.
there.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's not just him and the horse are both like getting overstimulated at the same time.
It's a nice mirror to the Gordy's home scene with this. You're on the stage and you're like experiencing kind of what it was like to be under the lights and in front of the cameras, just
Exactly.
being stared at.
and how hard that is for an animal who doesn't really know what's
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, we'll get to it, but yeah, Gordy like looks confused when it's happening as well, and it's like
these poor creatures who they don't know.
Yeah.
so. The crew starts setting up for a take and places an HDRI orb in front of the horse's face, which startles the animal and causes it to react suddenly. It kicks back and knocks a makeup palette out of a crew member's hand.
It's a very near miss. Like he could have
Yeah.
kicked that
It
woman
literally-
all
Yeah,
the way.
that
That
across.
one
neck.
goes on the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one gets talked about. Like for at my job, there's a board that's like near misses, saves, and like there's like incident. I think is
shit.
what they call it. So
Like
there's
how many
like
days since an accident?
yeah. So it's like when you do a near miss, like it bears commenting upon because it's
Wow.
like okay, you didn't get hurt. But we need to talk
Yeah,
about
somebody could have died.
this was very, very close. That sandbag fell 4 feet from you.
Yeah,
We need
yeah.
to talk about who secured it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I put the director ? Lets OJ know that they have to let them go for this project, and they leave. He's apologizing. He's
Yeah, an older guy, like clearly an old friend of Otis Senior's.
Yeah.
That they've done a lot of work together over the years.
Exactly. Probably
he's-
like the liaison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's very comforting too. He's like, there'll be other ones, maybe you're just not ready, you need more time to recover from your dad being gone.
And it's tough.
And in the background, they're bringing in this ridiculous, like, fake green horse.
Yeah.
And it's a green screen set, and they're going to put a green screen horse on. Like,
the
what are they
set,
going to
yeah.
film?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no horse, there's no background. It's all just green. But
all
this
green.
is, like, their solution. Like, well, we can't get the horse, so let's just do a fake one.
And it's funny because, Antlers is a dick, so he definitely was just like, well, what the fuck is this? Like,
Yeah.
So OJ drives up to Jupiter's Claim to sell the failed actor to Jupe, a former child star who played a role in Gordy's Home.
yeah, he played, we don't know the name of his role in Gordy's Home, I don't think. But
He just says a show that I starred in.
yeah, and then Jupe is the name from a movie he did called Kid Sheriff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
where
he's
he-
sort of,
yeah.
I noticed a lot of lines that I couldn't hear before that I could hear with the headphones is M, who hasn't been around in a while.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, what happened to Gold Rush? So this pioneer town, like, just park that you go
This
to,
baby amusement park.
Frontier Park.
There's like 20 minutes of things to do.
It's just over the hill from their ranch. It's their next door neighbor, like a few
Yeah.
miles away. And it used to be a place called Gold Rush that was exactly like Ricky Park, the guy who is his alter ego is Jupe. He just bought this place 3 years ago, and he's just made it his frontier town. So,
Yeah, and it's like just so opportunist and like it's just adjacent enough to something he's done where it's like obviously no one probably he got the Kid Sheriff role because of the infamy. And
Yeah.
the only
Yeah.
reason anyone cares about him now is because of the infamy. Not like Kid Sheriff didn't springboard him.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's
This
like,
almost feels like the Spirit Halloween of like amusement
Yeah.
parks that just moved
Yeah.
in.
It's just so corny. Yeah.
yeah, he's so almost successful, and
Yeah.
it
You get
shows.
the feeling that he's successful because of his wife has like propped him up. It's like she's clearly
Yeah.
his manager, and she's like they have a reality show you see a poster for. They're just
Yeah.
like reining
Yeah.
it in, everything that they can pull in terms
She's
of
making calls, like business calls,
Yeah.
while they're walking in.
yeah. So
For the show.
she's made a successful businessman out of him.
So OJ attempts to make a deal for buying the horses back from Jupe at some point.
which
Yeah.
is just so silly. That's just not how anything works, and it
Yeah.
just goes to show how like I don't think it has anything to do with like whether or not he's on the spectrum, but just not being a businessman.
It's just not
and
knowing
like
yeah,
you
how it
don't.
works.
I wouldn't. Why would I buy a horse from you and then sell it back to you?
Yeah.
Why would I do that? I needed the horse, obviously.
Yeah,
like, I
exactly.
didn't rent the horse from you.
Yeah.
You know.
But Jupe doesn't say no. He sort of like side pedals. He's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, exactly. You see
we
him
could do
dance
that."
around it real quick.
He's like, line.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then of course M is wandering around the office and like interrupting the meeting, and she's like, "Oh, you were in this, you were in that show," and she's all excited to talk about
Yep.
stuff.
And OJ's just like, please.
Like
Right.
he even tells her like you're a liability. Like I don't need a liability. She said, "Well, if anybody's a liability, it's you." He's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, so there's that
Yeah.
sibling friction going on for
so
sure.
good. Yeah.
And then of course, she notices the poster for Gordy's home, and like Jupe takes the distraction. He's like, "Oh yeah, let's talk about
Yeah.
that."
He gets way too excited, way into this.
His like 1,000-yard stare when
Yeah.
he starts talking is wild.
It's so good. Yeah.
Is clearly he is himself obsessed with this incident that happened to him as a kid, that he should probably be seeing a therapist about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
These thoughts
he
should be
needed to
expressed.
unpack this decades ago.
He gets excited when Gordy's home comes up and shows them his private collection.
He has a
of-
secret door
Yeah, he's like
to a museum.
Oh damn! When she walks in, he shows them like it's a private museum essentially.
It's amazing how it's got like when you turn the lights on, the music starts playing. from
Yeah, the
show.
TV goes on.
Yeah,
like,
it's so weird. It feels like there's like multiple instances in American Dad where they just like go into a room and they're like, I never noticed there was like a whole museum in here.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Roger's just like, yeah, I'm the docent. You know,
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just like,
And he also says, I usually charge a fee for this.
yeah, and then he says that a Dutch couple spent the night in there,
for
which
$50,000.
yeah, which I feel like most people take that so innocuously, which is wild to me because it's obvious like that was just some very specific kink shit. To be like, I want to be around stuff that was there when people were killed by an animal.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
really fucked up. Like,
gross.
And he recognizes the appeal of it, and he's like telling OJ's like, oh my god, well the meeting has gone off the rails at this point.
Yeah.
And he follows them in there, and he's telling them how there's this growing popularity for this incident that happened in 1998. It should be like ancient history, but he's like, oh yeah, people are getting more and more
becoming
excited
a cult
about it.
thing.
Yeah.
People are like, the DVD sales are going up, which
Yeah.
to your point, if it is true, it's because of his wife. And
Yeah, they've been feeding into this.
yeah, and it's also possible that it's not true, and it's just something that his wife wants him to tell people so that this can be a thing.
True, it could be that too.
You know,
Yeah.
trying to build his own legend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's that guy.
yeah.
So-
and he has the shoe
Yeah, that's
In-
what I'm. Yeah,
in his museum.
I was gonna bring up the shoe.
Somehow he got a hold of that shoe that he saw.
It doesn't.
He has the
That was
shoe
standing
and the
straight up.
birthday hat that
birthday
Gordy was
hat,
wearing,
yeah.
and I think he
has
has
the shirt. He also has the shirt on the.
that the dad was
Yeah,
wearing.
yeah.
There's no way he could have taken all those things with him at the time. I think he's been buying this
Buying
shit
them back, yeah.
over
yeah,
time.
Yeah, either
That
that or
makes
just
sense.
fabricating it.
True, also possible.
Just being like from memory,
Yeah.
you know, but
which again, he should be seeing a therapist.
yeah, because I don't doubt that, like, you know, memory is imperfect, but obviously, like, the very, very traumatizing things are the things that, like, punctuate so hard. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't doubt that it's a perfect representation. Like, those scenes are probably one-to-one what he remembers, and he took
Yeah.
away the wrong message, but I don't think he took away the wrong sequence of events or, like, I could see him being like, I remember the exact shirt that he wore and exactly how the blood was on it, and we could just make one. You know,
Yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I mean? So it's
exactly,
like
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard to tell because
Having
he's
that
such
sort of
a faker.
morbid attention to detail.
Yeah, he's such a faker that he would even fake everything around the realist event
Yeah.
of his life.
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes into which we're gonna get into, but like, yeah, it even feels like he tells the skit thing because he's like trying to detach from the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
M asked him like what actually happened.
Yeah.
And instead of describing it, he describes an SNL skit that was based on what happened. And he's like, "Oh, you should have seen it. Chris Kattan did an amazing Gordy impression."
Yeah.
And then he's just like, going off into his
Yeah.
memory, and he gets a flashback.
He's in his memory palace.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he won't talk about it in a real sense.
Yeah, no, it's that distancing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he's talking about how 1-to-1 Chris Kattan was, but then you see that like
He
he's-
says Kattan was killing on that
Yeah,
stage.
he says.
Yeah.
He says
and then you see this
he's just
chimp killing people. On
his
the
exact
stage.
quote was, "He's just crushing it. He's a force of nature. He is killing it on that stage."
that-
And then it hard cuts to a flashback of young Jude.
And he knows that it was exactly 6 minutes and 13 seconds that
because
the
he mentions that.
attack was going on.
Yeah, he's like, it's a harrowing 6 minute 13 seconds or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says that the chimp playing Gordy reached his limit one day. and
One
just
of the
reached
chimps.
yeah, one of the chimps.
Yeah,
playing-
and it's interesting that he would phrase it that way, but like from what I understand, that is a thing, and from the the real incident that kind of influenced or inspired
Oh, shit,
Gordy,
here we go.
Like,
Get into it.
It seems like with chimps in captivity, people have discovered that. I don't think it's like a hard and fast age, but it's just, similar to how humans go through puberty at different rates, individual to individual. But they just hit a point psychologically where even if they've been raised by humans and around humans their whole life,
when they get into adulthood,
yeah,
they're no longer.
they're just like, we're not cool. It's war because like they're among the,
They're just not meant to be with us.
yeah, they're among the types of apes that have real conflicts in the wild and like have like groups fighting groups and shit like that. Like
Yeah.
they are complex.
real gang shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then
it's
we're
like-
we're subjecting them to all this shit that they don't understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like the you should take the range because I think you have more probably written down in front of you for the Travis story. But when you're making this animal that has more raw strength than maybe even Joey and me combined. Like, you know, they're just stronger than us.
Yeah,
That's a lot of strength.
An adult male chimp is stronger than several men combined.
Yeah, and it's like when you make this animal have tea parties with you for your amusement, it's like
When you give a grown chimp Xanax for whatever reason.
yeah, to calm it down,
Yeah.
like you're
fucked.
yeah, when you're messing with the brain chemistry of an animal whose brain chemistry is already gonna get to a point where he is not good to be around you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, that's why we're not allowed to really have them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in short, the real life incident was it was a couple who owned a car sales business, and they had the chimp from Travis from a very young age kind of as a mascot. And it was okay for a while, and then at some point the husband died and it was just the wife and the chimp alone together, so he was like family to her, and she had him forever, but he eventually, you know, grew older, and you know, he started to
Hit that point.
yeah. And he had all kinds of like experiences and skills that he shouldn't have had.
Yeah.
Like he was allowed to drive, and sometimes
So fucking
sometimes he would
crazy.
take the keys and leave the house and go driving.
You know how sometimes you
What I do when I'm stressed.
you know how sometimes you like honk at somebody, and then when you pull up to him at a light, like you look and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have messed with this dude. Like it's just a full grown chimp. You're just
Yeah.
like, oh shit.
Yeah, so the people had called the cops on him in the past.
Sir, there is a jungle animal driving a pickup out here.
Yeah, so Travis, I don't know, he would just eat at the table and watch TV and do all these things that
Fucking crazy.
he shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah.
And
He thinks he's people.
yeah, so he got a little out of hand at some point, and this woman called in her friend to help out. And this woman, the friend,
Is that the 911 call?
yeah.
Oh my God.
She never got along with Travis. She was always afraid of Travis, and he would like pull her hair and shit. She was terrified of him before this incident.
And I'm sure the owner was like, oh, well, it just means he likes you. That's the kind of stuff
Yeah.
people say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But when she showed up, like she called her friend for help. She's like, "Oh, Travis left the house. I don't know what to do. I can't get him back in his cage." And her friend showed up to help, and she had a different haircut than she usually had, and Travis hadn't seen her for a while, and they were trying to get him to like come back and
God.
behave. And she had Travis's Elmo toy, and she was like, "Come over here," and she's waving it around, and he was like, "Oh fuck no."
You let
That's
go
my
of Elmo.
toy.
You let Elmo
Yeah.
go.
Only my hand goes up there.
Yeah, and he just lost his shit on her, and he was just tearing her up.
Yeah,
It's
fucked.
bad. It's
And-
very
so
bad.
fucking harrowing. Those pictures are so
Yeah.
disturbing.
And he was just destroying her. And there is a 911 call that is very intense, where the owner is like, essentially, she's like, she thought her friend was already dead. She's like, "Oh, she's dead. Oh my God, he's eating her."
Because he ripped her face
Yeah.
off,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
She actually ended up doing an Oprah episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
She
why it's
survived.
hilarious. It's hilarious that they make the Oprah joke in here too.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
it all
of,
comes
like-
back to the Oprah.
Yeah.
Shot.
The Oprah
and-
shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she managed to survive that. The owner, Travis's owner, she stabbed Travis in the back with a knife, and he turned and looked at her, and he was like, "Mom, why would you do that?" And then he went back to
Fucking
beating the shit out of
beating
this
the shit out
woman. So the cops came and killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of rightfully so at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And it's just
'Cause
one of those things. It's tragic it's obviously it's someone's fault, but like no one wanted that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
the wild thing too. Like we're talking about the strength. Like this, you take a kitchen knife to the back, and it's just an annoyance to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you send, multiple cops over there. That's like, it's good they came in with guns drawn, and I've never said that about the police in my life. But like, that's like the one occasion where it's like, yeah, if you go into a struggle with him,
Yeah.
he'll kill all four of you. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, we're
1000%, yeah.
we're too soft and pink. We're not
Soft.
set up for like real battle. It's crazy because I've seen online lists of like the percentage of adult men who think that they can like win a fight to the death with certain animals, and it's like 70% of men think they could fight an alligator, and like 80%
Not me.
think they could fight a lion, and it's just like, you guys are so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
these are
firmly
apex
in that-
predators.
Yeah, have some perspective, please. So let's bring it back around.
All you've
ACAB, get out of here, fuck boys.
all mankind has against apex predators really is weaponry at this point, but
Guns.
initially
great
intimidation,
equalizer.
the ability to stand upright and be spooky to an animal is all we've got.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
But anyway,
So
so that's what that's based on.
yeah, they've made references to it so far, but they're gonna really like explore all of these things later
Yeah,
on.
and I should just say, for the listeners and viewers, before the pod, Clifton had showed us and Evelyn had brought up, there's pictures of Travis holding a baby, which is absolutely
Yeah.
terrifying, and there's
Yes.
pictures
That
of
shit
him
is scary,
with
bro.
his, eventual victim,
Yeah.
where he's holding her in place. And it's scary.
Yeah.
It's very, very scary.
Fucking
Yeah,
terrifying.
just it's so
Yeah.
sad to me that like she said I was always scared of him. Like,
Yeah,
just-
I knew this was coming, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So OJ and M drink to their father's memory back at the farm. Mm-hmm. M recalls a time when she saw OJ and Otis Sr. training what was supposed to be her horse, Jean Jacket. Their conversation is interrupted when M notices one of their horses is inside the training area.
Yeah, the arena.
The arena. Yeah, she says, "Why is Ghost in the arena?"
That's her dad's horse, Ghost.
Ghost.
Yeah.
So he's put himself in that arena. He jumped in there.
Yeah.
Cut to the title card, Ghost.
Because I think when everything happened, I think Ghost just ran away. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he didn't. I wouldn't put the horse away.
Yeah.
I would just get
Just let him do his thing.
You just put your dad in the car and you get to the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
so I think that's the only like real way to explain that, because at that point, not knowing what's happening, you're like, what's even going to be happening in this movie?
Yeah.
How does this happen? It's
Well, there was a 6-month gap between their father's death and the gig, so
Yeah.
Ghost has been around, but I think, yeah, he's kind of sort of free.
He really,
roaming.
it doesn't really seem like
because
he's in any sort of mind.
Because they mentioned at the very beginning too that like the dad is riding him, but he's not fully broken or trained.
you see him
Yeah.
training him while he's doing it.
Yeah, he's like, this guy will give you trouble. That's why Otis Sr. has to deal with him.
Yeah, and,
So it's
and
like,
Otis
yeah.
Sr. says some animals just aren't fit to be trained.
Yeah, and
Yep.
so they give him a wide berth at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Ghost is OG. He gets to do what he wants.
OJ walks over to see what's up with Ghost when the horse takes off running. Mm-hmm. He goes searching and comes across Jupe rehearsing a show of some kind.
Yeah,
You can see in the distance Jupiter's claim. It's all lit up at night, and you can hear on the intercom
monologue.
He's
He's practicing
doing
a
this
speech.
speech for some kind of spectacle that he's been witnessing, and then all the power goes out on Jupiter's claim.
Yep. And then you can hear the sounds of a screaming horse overhead before the lights in the farm.
Yeah,
kinda
and it's
flicker
got that
go back on.
Doppler effect to it, which again, the sound design is so masterful.
You get the sense that
Amazing.
whatever it is has traveled from down there in the valley up to the ranch.
in seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
OJ rushes back after spotting an object moving behind the clouds.
Yeah.
And the little violin or the cello string.
It's such a
The
good
slide.
score.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so good. It's so sharp and jarring. You're just like, oh shit. They check the security camera footage, but OJ is disappointed when he doesn't see the object from before.
And the camera and the power cut out at the moment
Yeah.
when the thing happened, but I don't think they would have caught it anyway because they
Yeah, it
It
wasn't
was
camera system
pointed.
is
Yeah, it was
not very
pointed
good.
down.
Yeah, it wasn't high quality. It was, more for probably watching the horses than for trying to really do any sort of security especially
catch a
not what they're
flying
trying to do.
Exactly. Talking on the porch, OJ expresses that it was big and fast and too quiet to be a plane. The next day, they're parked outside of a Fry's and discussing ways to capture the object on camera because
A specific Fry's.
a specific Fry's.
Fry's in Burbank,
Shout out Burbank.
which has a UFO crashed into the front of it.
Yeah.
Yep, it's so funny.
We have been to that Fry's.
So it's not very far from here, huh?
It's very
No,
nearby.
not at all. Yeah, it's really nearby.
Yeah. So they've OJ doesn't say it, but the indication that M is trying to get out of her brother is like, did you see what I think you say that you saw?
Yeah.
And he's like, yep.
He seems like he doesn't want, like he's
He
trying
doesn't
to be
wanna
grounded. He
yeah.
doesn't want to,
He doesn't want to say the silly thing, but he's
Exactly.
like, I just saw a UFO for sure.
Yeah, logic doesn't match up to what I just saw, so I need a minute.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he says that wonderful line, "What's a bad miracle?" They have a word for that, and she's like, "Nope."
Yeah.
So they go in to purchase CCTV equipment and meet Angel at the checkout.
I love this character so much.
So good. Angel's probably one of the best characters.
Yeah,
on
at
this one.
first I was like, yeah, just some bro. You know, he'll come and go.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
Because he's so disaffected. Like Angel needs something in his life real bad.
Yeah.
He's not having a good time.
And you kind of,
absolutely.
Yeah, he's like recently dumped by his girlfriend, like working at Fry's.
He's very cold to them when they're checking out. He's like, "Well, do you need help with the install?" And they're like, "Nope. That was another counter. There we go.
Yeah, they're like, no.
No.
We'll handle it ourselves. And he's like,
He's like, all right, whatever.
Just the way that Kiki Palmer like speaks and enunciates with so many things,
good.
like so many lines are
She's
so like
so good.
they're so entertaining, and just the way that like she does because she does kind of like fluctuate her voice when she does the no.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's just like
yeah.
you know.
She's like, she's dismissive, but in a very warm way. She's like,
Yeah.
no thanks, Angel. She's
Yeah,
like reading
yeah.
his name tag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
funny. He's just so not impressed. Like,
Yeah. I love how much of this movie is spent like the two of them pushing Angel away gently, and he's like, "Come on, guys, I just gotta."
yeah,
Come on.
Yep, yeah, a lot of it. And
Yeah.
he says,
You don't need me, but I need you.
he says that because they tell him, oh, he looks at the items they're buying. He's like, oh, did you guys get robbed or something? They're like, yeah, just need a good security camera system. And then he's like, oh, well, these ones are good. You should be covered and everything. He's like, well, we've had problems with it going out before, and
our cell phones
our
going
cell
out.
phones go out too.
Yeah,
He's
and,
like,
and he gives
he
them that
gets real
suspicious look.
mansplaining.
He's like, that's not how technology works.
Yeah, he's like.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, unless you live in a UFO hotspot, I don't know what to tell you. And then they're just like...
M's like, nobody believes in that.
Nobody believes in that. And
Yeah.
then cut to them. They pull up at the farm.
Yeah.
And he's followed them there to install it.
Well, he follows the pattern of the people on the set, too, I'm realizing, though. And he's probably not wrong. But he tells them, like, do you need someone to come set it up? And they're like, no. And he's like, you can't set this up. And
He's very... Yeah.
He's probably
He's
right.
probably right, yeah.
Like, and it's like he's kind of matching their energy at that
Yeah.
point. you
And they're
know?
like, well, if we're already invested this far into it, we may as well get a guy who's going to make sure that it's done right.
Yeah, and it seems like M wants more of the secrecy, and OJ is like, he's right.
Yeah.
We need it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need it
exactly.
to work correctly.
Yeah.
So M says that she needs to go take care of something and leaves without elaborating further.
She's like, oh, this is going to take a couple hours. I'll see you guys later. She's
yeah.
very,
He's like, oh, how long is this going to... Are you going to be much longer? And then-
whenever OJ's like, there's work to be done, she's like, see ya.
late.
Yeah.
Late.
And I feel like from her other dialogue, because like at one point he's like, you need a therapist, and she's like, I have a therapist. I bang one
Yeah,
sometimes.
fuck
you
one on
know?
occasion. You know?
Yeah, where it's like I get the sense that every time she dips for a couple hours, she's just going to hook up with somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
She has a
Which-
very interesting life.
Which to be very clear, is not a bad thing.
No,
Who-
absolutely
Who
not.
cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like-
she
She- yeah.
seems very well adjusted.
It
Yeah,
seems like she very
absolutely.
much plays the field, and we know that she is queer. We know she's at least, into women.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's up in the air as to whether she's bi, but we know that she at least, likes women.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So they're installing the equipment, and Angel starts opening up about his beliefs in UFOs.
Which is so
It's
funny.
so
it's
funny.
It's such a nobody asked you.
Yeah,
He watches Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, he's like
religiously.
waiting. Yeah, he's waiting for an opportunity
Yeah.
to like present itself.
I love when he's got the laptop and he's like directing the cameras for OJ, and OJ's like up.
Now how far up does it go?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like Angel's like,
And he's like looking at him, he's
okay.
like, what the fuck?
And
Okay.
all the cameras are just pointed at the sky, and he's like, what the fuck are we doing
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, he's like,
And then he's like, they don't even call them UFOs anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what do they call them? It's like UAPs.
I don't think he says what that stands for.
yeah, it's,
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
He's
no, he
like,
doesn't. It's unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Right. And he's
Yeah.
deep into the conspiracy of they changed the name so no one would be able to.
Yeah, because he's
now
like,
that we know that they're real.
no one knows
we need to, like,
what the fuck a UAP
yeah,
is.
yeah. He's one of those. It's funny because it's like the people that are into conspiracies want to believe that every line that politicians say in the limelight, and there's all this foreshadowing and dropping of breadcrumbs and all this stuff, and
Everything has meaning.
yes, and it's
Yeah.
funny in a film where everything does have meaning to like kind of
Yeah, throw
kind of be
this.
like,
Throw this dude
Yeah.
into
Yeah,
the mix.
you get to watch all the characters between them be like, oh, well, like fully over time giving into believing it in stages. Be
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I don't
being-
want to be the first person to be like,
Yeah.
I totally believe this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
it's like I try to say, like, as someone who doesn't believe in God, like if the sky opened and God was like, I'm real,
Yeah.
I would just have to reckon with that.
Yeah,
you'd be like,
exactly.
Like
yeah.
you just,
Okay.
you just have to
Bet.
when new information presents itself, you
Yeah.
have to adjust what you thought you knew.
I'll do it on the night.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
I don't think so, but I'm not saying that something like really, really out there can't happen and like totally change it, So it's
Yeah.
that moment of like, yeah, I've seen the face of God.
Yeah,
You know?
saw some shit.
Yeah.
So Em returns with a training horse that she ordered and picked up.
Oh yeah, that's where she goes.
Yeah.
Here we are saying she, probably every other time, but this
Yeah,
time
every
she had
time,
something
no.
to do.
She looks the horse that she picked up looks very similar to the one that was seen outside Jupiter's Claim when they pulled into the park.
Flags and
How
all.
did she get that shit in the
I don't know.
trailer
It's
by
hilarious
herself?
because the flags are hanging out of the back window. Like it's so funny. Just as it's all set up, Jupe shows up to invite them to the family's new live show.
Yeah.
But he's told to stay by the truck when he's about to enter the property.
He's like all the way over there. He's
Like-
like,
He's
hey, you
like,
guys.
Hi.
Yeah.
You can stay over there though.
I love it. Like, was it DDA that mentioned that about like the sound design, or was it you? I think.
I think it was
I think it was
DDA,
DDA,
probably.
yeah.
Just about like like the way that the audio is even when we cut to the close shots of Jupe, we're still hearing him in full echo, and then we're hearing, because it's they're like in this canyon, and then we're hearing when the characters are speaking, we can hear them yelling from closer, and then we can hear that the echo is farther.
Yeah.
So it keeps our perspective.
Yeah, it keeps like
Yeah.
With our
you get the
heroes.
idea of the distance between them.
And
Yeah.
I just love it. Like kind of like I said, so many of Kiki's lines are just like so like infectious or like almost quotable. But the way she's like, "You can stay over there, though. Send up a training horse."
Thumbs up.
He's
Thumbs
like,
up.
"Oh, we have some like that," and then he like starts to say, "Where'd you get yours?"
Yeah, just like, where'd you get yours?
And Angel is like such a third wheel. He's like, okay, bye then.
So he's like, but you don't live
down.
here.
Angel's like, oh, you guys are doing something shady. Did you steal this thing?
Yeah, he's like,
yeah.
"I don't want to be here, man."
Yeah, but he wants to be involved. Like he instantly wants to be
Yeah.
part of their whatever it is that they're doing.
Part of
Literally,
your world.
I put just as Angel's about to leave, he offers to monitor the feed remotely because he's just enamored with what's going on. At the
Yeah, and
farm.
they're like, "Nope."
They're like, nope,
Don't do
hell
that.
no.
Lose my number.
Hell no. Exactly. He's like, I'll do it free of charge. And he's like, nope. And then we.
Well, to Evelyn's point too, as he's like, I could monitor it for
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
And they're like, no. And then he's like,
He's so hopeless.
I could do it free of charge.
Yeah.
And then when they say no, like the third time, he's like, you guys are dicks, and walks
fuck.
away.
He's like, what's going on then? She's like, you'll know soon enough. And he's like, cryptic.
Yeah.
You fucking dicks.
Yeah,
He's being gate kept
yeah.
super hard.
I mansplained to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Aren't we friends?
So then I put right here title card Clover.
Which is
Yeah.
another horse name.
Yeah,
I don't know what
I
horse
for
names.
one am a sucker for a film that just tells you that there's chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Like I also like that in video games sometimes when it'll just be like chapter 1 and I'm
Yep,
just like,
yep.
oh, all right, now
Here
we're
we go.
Dirty
let's
bitch,
go.
all right.
It gives you the sense that it's going to be an epic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that-
absolutely.
That these points of separation are so important, and it's like I doubt this would be like I doubt he would be directly referencing Clerks, you know, with
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
title
yeah.
cards of all the different layers of hell in the Divine Comedy. But I feel like he might, in a way, be using like going through that to the thing it was actually
Yeah,
referencing.
like a reference. Exactly.
Like you said with the epic feel, like it's like on that level of like the Divine Comedy sort of moralistic stakes, you know.
Absolutely. So we see OJ attempting to make his own form of the markers that were being used. I put markers, but it's the orb.
Yeah,
The HDRI
yeah,
A
'cause-
orb.
reflective
yeah, because
ball.
exactly to
So
explain to those who
he's
didn't
trying
see
to he's trying to sort of get the horses like accustomed to seeing that image in front
Yeah.
of their faces
Yeah,
for the
to-
next time.
to overcome what had
Mm-hmm.
hurt them before.
So he's like, he set up the cameras to catch this UFO should it come by, and now he's back to the family business. Like,
Yeah,
Train the
it's just
horses.
like, boom, get back to
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, because M is like, we can get paid for this if we sell this to the right place.
we can get the Oprah shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
That's
for
her.
sure.
That's her whole thing is financial, and like obviously he likes that idea too. But he's like, you don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to continue to do the thing that's actually important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's always like, there's work to do. I have mouths to feed. I got to
Yep.
take care of the horses. Like, let's
Yeah,
get back
I
to
love
it.
that.
Yeah, he
I
said I
love
have
that.
mouths to
Mouths
feed,
to
and she's
feed.
like, who? And he's like, the horses.
Yeah.
Like, obvious.
This
I
is what
love
we
that.
do here.
I
the
love
animals,
that so much.
the animals whose lives we're responsible for,
Mm-hmm.
mainly.
So a light turns on in the distance while he's working, and OJ goes to investigate.
And he hears the horses are distressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a very I kind of broad stroke this one, but it's a very tense scene.
It's very spooky.
very spooky. We have the first fake out of the movie.
Yeah.
We see two creatures begin to stalk and approach him before he begins recording the encounter on his phone.
And they look like, little men
Primate,
from space.
yeah.
Fuzzy
exactly.
little gray guys,
Little
gray
grays.
heads, you
They have-
know.
Yeah.
they like a monkey-like, appearance for their body, but their head is like you wouldn't think. Little.
They sort of look
gray
like those
aliens.
little forest creatures from which Miyazaki movie is that? Yeah, Princess Mononoke. Thank you. They have
you,
these
man.
little.
Our resident
Yeah.
Miyazaki expert.
They've got those little round white heads and like these two.
Oh, the Kodama.
eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And there's a very weird soundscape, and like there are sprinklers going off inside the barn, but there's also these other sounds that like are coming from maybe the aliens.
Yeah, it's like to him these may be familiar sounds, but to us as total outsiders, we're just trying so desperately to like, similar to an animal, running from a predator, trying to separate all the sounds of the night and figure out what is the sound that you need to be like avoiding.
Right.
Exactly.
It is-
And this is a thing I need to draw a parallel to, because this space that he's in, and something unusual is happening, and he sees these creatures with these white faces, with these two eyes, and the space is very similar in feel to that soundstage from Gordy's home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
these three creatures with these faces, they look just like the three cameras on that
Yes.
Yep.
soundstage.
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Which puts OJ in the same position as Gordy in terms of like
Fuck.
being in the unfamiliar space with these creatures, and like from Gordy,
That's good.
From Gordy's
This is
That's
crazy.
perspective,
really good.
This is crazy. You're fucking me up. Keep
Yeah,
going.
I'm like, Jesus Christ.
dude. This came to me like yesterday.
Oh my God.
The cameras. I knew that the cameras looked like the
shapes of
the
the head,
alien
yeah,
suits looked
yeah.
like the cameras, but like from Gordy's perspective, those are aliens. He doesn't know
Yeah.
what the fuck those
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
So it's that same like I don't know what's going on thing.
That's so good.
Yeah,
So-
and then like now I'm just excited, so I kind of got to hijack, So they're stalking him, and then one starts to creep around the corner, and you pointed out that there's like some supposed alien footage online that it very much mimics.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that was me.
Was that? Oh,
It
that
was
was.
Clifton.
Also, there are 3 co-stars. Gordy has 3 co-stars.
Oh,
Oh shit.
very nice. Hell yeah.
Damn.
Is that
See-
Thank you, Podfather.
See, we might be the faces and the voices, but we're
Yeah.
nothing without all the other people
Exactly,
that
yeah,
we
exactly.
watch and enjoy and talk about these films with. you know?
Absolutely.
And definitely our partners who sometimes are subjected to things and sometimes enjoy them. But yeah, so Clifton had said, I believe, that it mimics some very specific supposed alien footage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
That's right.
as he's backing up and like filming this creature putting its head
On his
around.
flip phone. It's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, he's like, well, this isn't how I expected to get the Oprah shot, but I guess
Yeah,
we're doing
exactly,
it. I gotta.
Yeah,
It's happening now.
It's happening, yeah.
Yeah.
And then one of them is like on the rafter behind him and lowers down. And it's like you said, they are so analogous to the cameras and to the entire situation with all of these overstimulating sounds and trying to figure out what's going on. Gordy reacted with violence,
Yep.
and so does OJ.
Yeah.
OJ
He's like,
turns and swings,
Yeah.
which is what
he's a-
anyone would do in that
Yeah.
Yeah,
moment.
you're
He
like, I don't know what
he
the fuck is
dex-
going on.
He absolutely just
He swings it.
almost takes that head right off.
Exactly. And it's revealed that they're the kids from Jupiter's Claim.
Yeah,
so
I don't know how he
actually-
didn't knock that child
I was gonna
out.
say, like, literally, how did he not? How does that child just walk away from that? Like, that was wild.
He's like, oh, it must be. The mask must provide some cushioning.
Yeah.
yeah, it had to.
That's
It's-
gotta be.
You do hear the impact, like a thunk, like
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
It's like
and
yeah,
he
it
just
does make-
drops onto his head.
Yeah. So these 3 kids have come to fuck with
You're like, they're
OJ
like,
and M.
don't mess with Jupiter's Claim.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because and M comes running. She's like, "Oh, they're gonna fuck with us. We'll fuck with them."
like,
And he's like,
"You'll
"No,
fuck
they're
with
here
Haywood?"
because you stole their decoy horse."
And she's
She's
like,
like-
I would do nothing of the sort.
It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that reaction so much.
But I really love because it's that fake out, and then we go to Angel in Circuit City.
yeah. Yep.
and he's
in fries.
Oh,
In
in
Fries.
fries. Excuse me. I think I might have said Circus City earlier too. Both basically defunct where I live.
yeah.
But then we go to him.
Yeah.
And his boss is like, okay, locking up, and turns the light off, and he's like, okay, bye, and he's just like watching their feed, like trying to figure out what's going on. And then we get the like sort of jump scare of his coworker walking up behind him, like eating snacks and being
like,
like,
"What's
what
good?"
are you doing? What's happening? And he's like,
Yeah.
and then we have M watching the footage from their side,
Mm-hmm.
and we have the mantis stick down its, alien.
A mantis looks a lot like what we
Yeah.
think of as an alien looks
Yeah,
like.
they're wild
Yeah.
looking,
Yeah,
know?
they're
The
creepy.
evolution was
Yeah.
on one that day. And it pokes its head down, so you get 3 in a row, like fake outs that pretend to be like significant,
Yeah.
horrific moments, but then you calm down.
Yeah,
And
and,
it's-
all the characters are kind of laughing at themselves like, "Oh, that was dumb."
And it's all about the pace and the precedent,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just such a master.
Because you
Peele
don't
of,
know.
like,
Up until this point, you have no idea what this movie actually is going to be.
it's
Yeah.
still so like, what
It's
is
very vague.
anything?
Yeah, it's very vague, and there's just
Yeah.
like almost like Twin Peaks. Like there's something weird here, but you don't know what the fuck it is.
Yeah, it's a fast 2 hours.
Yeah.
because it's so fascinating. Nothing. I
There's
don't know.
no
No screen
downtime.
time is wasted.
Yeah, it's like
nothing, absolutely.
it's
not.
like if you looked at it on a timeline of like just the events, you'd feel like not a ton happens. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're watching it, there's never a moment where you're like, I'm bored and the film is lulling.
No.
It's just so rich
You
with
know?
like the details and
Yeah.
I
the
don't.
references and then the character development.
I don't generally rewatch films like very soon. Usually it's like a few years later, or if I want to really show somebody because I'm very excited
Yeah.
about it, it's like I'll rewatch it so that I can talk about it with you later.
Yeah.
My experience that I'm going for is like the after or seeing you react to
Mm-hmm,
it, not seeing it again. But this was great to see, so soon.
Yeah, exactly. Because all the things that we were already talking about were so fresh in your head when you were watching this. So yeah, it's so cool to like point all
Yeah.
these things out.
And it was awesome too to be, sitting here with, you guys' great setup and to have you and Clifton and DDA with us, who are all filmmakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're
to
all
have-
like,
yeah. So it's like, me and Joey have seen enough to know some things, and for me it's more on like a writing kind of level that I feel like
oh, the things that DDA notices, and he's a
yeah.
director.
Yeah, he's
and
fantastic.
and he does
So
like
much fun.
compositing and stuff too,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't fully
He's a concept artist and a writer and a director, and he's just like
And a
he's
swell guy.
and it's-
fantastic dude.
Yeah.
Awesome toy collection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he gets deep into the lore and the psychology behind the theme of a
Yeah,
film.
he
He's
really
like,
will.
very tuned into that
Yeah,
stuff.
he hit us with a lot of those. Just like, so this is like, yeah, like you said, like the psychology behind
and
a lot
like
of
why
this.
is the character that outfit that means something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's so
he
true.
has an awesome brain.
Yes,
and
he does.
Absolutely.
we'll definitely get him on here. At some
He's
He
point.
gonna
is
be a guest for
absolutely
sure.
going to be on
Yeah,
here.
I mean, he only has to walk down a flight of stairs. So
Right up there. Yeah.
So OJ is out wrangling one of the horses from the farm when he gets spooked and runs off, knocking
Yeah.
him to the
Because
ground.
the kids let Clover out. That's the horse.
yes.
Clover. So he looks up at the sky and sees a large tornado leading up to the clouds. And I think that's when he notices the flag is at the tail. Like
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
tail. He notices like the flags are like
So
just
the-
kind of suspended in midair.
The
in
UFO
in the
took
clouds.
the decoy horse.
Yeah. The dust kicking up is like he could potentially, like, if nothing else happened and this was like his first side of it, he could potentially be like, okay, it was just like a really crazy dust devil,
Yeah.
like the, like
Yeah.
the
In the
little-
middle of a still night, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just kind of like, okay, that was weird, but like you try to write off one weird isolated
Right.
thing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but it being down the line second or third thing here, and then he
There's
sees
clearly
the flags.
something going on.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
brings his attention to the place where he sees the thing that actually confirms,
And he's seeing it happen, and meanwhile, Angel has called M.
and is
and he's
like,
freaking out.
There's a
He's-
bug on your
he's like,
camera.
get the mantis off of there.
And
Yeah,
she's like,
exactly.
quit watching our feed. I know there's a mantis. And he's like, no, but the other camera's
went
down.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Which
get the
he-
bug off the
which
camera so
he
you can
said-
see.
Yeah, he said himself wasn't going to happen because they run off their own battery source.
Right.
Yeah.
But
So
they couldn't be.
He designed a system for them very smartly that if one camera, they're far enough away from each other.
Yeah,
the
they're
two
like
cameras.
triangulated.
If one goes down, the other one is pointed at that
At
one
it.
so that you can see what took down that camera. But not if there's a bug on the camera.
Yeah.
So she's talking to Angel, and she's also like watching OJ and seeing that this thing is going on, and she's like on the phone, but like to herself. She's like, "Oh, it's in the cloud,"
Yeah.
and
She-
Angel's like, "What?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she runs out.
Yeah, he realizes the flags hanging off the training horse are dangling in the middle of the sky from the source of the tornado.
Which is very creepy.
It's such a good
Yeah.
visual. And prompting M to scream for him to run.
Yeah, and because as she's making the connection, like you could see that the same gears are turning in his head. That he's like, and it's like, when you're confronted with this predator, you have so much because it's flight.
It's fight or flight.
or
Yep.
freeze.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Fight
so
or
you
flight,
have that
freeze.
moment of
Yeah.
like,
Is it better to stand still, or is it better to get the fuck out?
Yeah.
Yeah, and fight's obviously not an option.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
you
yeah.
throw hands at the sky.
Yeah.
So he runs underneath some structure on the farm that like hides him from view.
Yeah. It's like a shed or something
Yeah.
like that, like a utility shed.
But Clover is still out in the open,
Yeah. Aw.
and Clover gets taken.
No.
Very quickly. The horse just disappears up into the sky, and you can hear the horse screaming as the thing quietly slips into the clouds. And M very bravely and very stupidly gets a ladder and goes up onto the roof while this is happening, and she's throwing Sour Patch Kids at the mantis trying to get it off the camera.
I got you, motherfucker.
So they don't get any footage, but she also from up there she sees the UFO. So now both of them have seen it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both know what they're dealing with, and she was. It says a lot about the spectrum read. The whole idea that she is a very safe person to him.
Yeah.
That she immediately believes him.
Yeah.
And that
yeah.
she has to coax it out of him because she's so used to, even though he's the big brother, right? I get
Yeah.
the sense
Yeah,
he's the
yeah.
big brother.
Yeah, because she says that's how you want your little sister to feel. I don't feel very loved right now.
Oh yeah, that's right. Before they go smoke that hobby weed.
Yeah, the hobby weed.
She's like, "Where's fun, OJ? I want to have fun."
Yeah, but
Can I get fun OJ up on this bitch?
yeah, but she's like, come on, I can tell something's
Yeah,
bothering you. You have
yeah.
to talk to me about it.
Yeah.
Is this what happened? Like, I think this is what happened.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out. Not
Yeah.
treating him like a child,
No,
but
not at
she
all.
knows the techniques that work with
That'll
him.
help get the information that she needs to help him.
Yeah, and she believes him immediately, sight unseen. But when she sees it, she's ready to double down even more. Like it does make it more real to her, but she didn't for a second. We didn't go through any of that. There's no ghost in your house. Like, I don't
Yeah,
care that
yeah.
there's just like some bloody message about
Maybe-
Satan that just appeared in front of my eyes. You're
Yeah.
obviously tripping.
Yeah, she was never
You
like,
know?
she never
Yeah.
said anything like, "Oh, maybe it was just this."
Yeah.
No,
She's
yeah,
like,
she immediately
okay.
jumps in and is like, okay, well then bet we'll just get this camera
Yeah.
equipment.
And it seems like it's because she's chasing fame in so many ways, but I am inclined to think that it's just because she believes her brother.
Yeah.
I mean, her name is Emerald, and it alludes to something in the Wizard of Oz. So there's some, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her reaction in seeing this is, she's like, "We should leave."
Yeah, we
The
gotta
farm.
we need to get out of here.
Yeah, we'll just fuck off. Like, we were gonna try to capture it, but like, this is too scary. And he's like, "I have mouths to feed."
Yeah, and it's
Yeah. And then he
She-
has a dream about their dad.
Yeah.
Talking
She's
about-
terrified of him.
and I was
We
so
gotta back
happy
it
he
up.
got more screen time. I
Exactly.
literally turned to Amanda in the theater and was like,
You're gonna-
Spawn.
It's dead.
yeah. And he's telling OJ that you
Ghost.
hear ghost yelling out there, like some animals aren't fit to be trained.
He says ghost out there acting territorial.
Yeah.
And so you kind of understand that, like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
he's noticing something. I feel like this was alluding, like, this thing has been there for a little bit.
This is an aggressive.
Yeah, and like
being.
the animals have been picking up on it, like being around. So he's trying, like, that ghost was trying to be like, yo, this is my place. Get the fuck
Yeah.
off my
Wow.
land, you know?
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's
like,
a
I felt-
great catch.
That's what I felt like, because it feels like that's what, like, it just feels like it's thrown in out of nowhere. But I was like, no, the context kind of seems like, yeah, this thing has been around for a minute, and it might have, again, because also later on, Jupe alludes to that they've been noticing this for months.
Well,
Yeah.
well, it sounds like Jupe noticed it after he probably noticed it when it killed their dad.
Yeah.
And then he started buying horses one at a time to do these dry runs where he must have seen that and then seen it suck something else
yeah,
up.
exactly.
And came
just
up with
put
the
two and
idea
two
to I'm
together.
gonna feed it horses.
Right, because I think OJ says later on, like, it didn't come here because of us. It came here because Jupiter's claim was making all this
Yeah, exactly.
fuss and like
Yeah,
drawing it
yep.
in.
Yeah, so it happened by
Yeah.
and then this being part of its like pattern.
And you can also hear on the radio when we first meet OJ and he's getting up at like the crack of dawn to like take care of the ranch and take care of the horses. You can hear on the news them talking about some hikers having disappeared
Yeah,
in the valley,
yeah.
which is a common
Yeah.
enough thing to happen in SoCal. It happens all the time. People go out into the wilderness and they just disappear because, out in the elements and who knows.
Yeah,
like,
it's scary.
yeah, but like you get the impression that that's probably they got sucked up.
Yeah,
I
like
love-
like he ate them, and then that's probably where a lot of the things that fell on them came from.
Yeah, all these
And-
coins
Yeah.
and car keys and
Exactly.
like,
And Jupe happened to see it in some way,
That's
and then
what we-
decided to start feeding it.
they're like,
and-
oh, it likes horses. Well, let's feed it horses.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there is the whole question of, where did it come from? Is it an alien? Is it a migratory giant prehistoric animal? Is this the UFO everyone has seen,
'Cause
or
it
is
looks
it
like
a
one,
flying
one
saucer.
of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. So I think him having this dream about something his dad said about it being territorial gives him and M the idea to call Antler's Holst.
Yeah.
yeah.
Who
Yeah.
you can see in his spare time Like, he does these bullshit commercials for, you know, to keep the lights on.
I love that.
But
I
his,
do one for them. So I
his
can do one for
at-home
me.
hobby is, like, and the thing he's probably known for is, like, this documentary footage of animals eating other animals.
Crazy ass
And
documentary
he bakes a mean lemon tart.
Yes. He's just an all-around really cool dude.
A Renaissance man.
What did he say? A pretty damn superb lemon tart.
Yeah, there you go.
That I'm about to feed to 10 of my closest friends.
And he's just sitting in a room by himself. Yeah, with
Yeah.
like it's like a jaguar or a tiger.
Yeah, just getting
Fighting
fucking
a
mangled
snake.
with a
Fighting
snake.
a boa
It's
constrictor.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
so this is his, like, personal project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What he's interested in.
Yeah.
They Emerald calls Antler's Holst about shooting a documentary about the shit dreams are made of.
Well, I think we should say real quick too, because that is between that dream and Antlers is when he's like, it's an animal, it's not a spaceship, and that's when we like get that sort of revelation.
Yeah.
And there's so many sort of like intuitive jumps that OJ makes that he's correct on. And it feels like it's because he has these like this relationship to nature. And we should also say the moment that everything cleared on that night, the mantis flies away. It shows up at the exact time and it leaves at the exact time. And between that and Gordy and not knowing the full story of Gordy, we're left wondering like, can it affect nature? Can it exert some sort of control or influence?
Which was our initial like thoughts. We were like, is it influencing something that he's doing? Is it influencing the
we
freak
know
out?
it affects the electromagnetic field, which we know to some level affects different, you know, biological
Organisms,
beings.
yep.
But
We don't know all the rules of this thing.
yeah, exactly. It's very up in the air, and it's
It's full of surprises.
and it's funny because in so many other horror movies, you know, like in It Follows, they sit down and they tell you these are the exact rules.
Yeah.
And then there's so many other horror movies
the rules
where
have
you're like,
already been figured out by some other character.
yeah.
Before.
And there's so many other ones where they're just sort of like are making these logistic leaps where they're like, well, the thing is, you got to kill Freddy Krueger as many times as like whatever movie we're in, and it's just like, well, how do you know what movie you're in?
Yeah.
You know, but
Everyone's
like,
so certain of the rules in movies, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But with OJ, it's like he's like, I just have this feeling, but he's right.
Yeah,
And so it's
absolutely.
like it ends up feeling fresh. There's so many ways in this movie in which he takes a boring old trope and twists it around into
Yeah.
something fresh.
Yeah.
You know?
She tells him that there's strange activity occurring in Agua Dulce, and she wants to use his experience with shooting on film to try and capture an image of the craft because it keeps fucking with the electrical.
Yeah.
She's like,
you
you're
know?
the man who gets the impossible shot. And that's what we want to get. And he's like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
He just kind of knows that they're like trying to get something
Yeah.
Yeah.
special on
Yeah.
film. And he's like, that can't be done. And also he like,
Yeah.
he calls her horse girl.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's like, listen, this dream that you're chasing where you're on top of the mountain and all eyes are on you, that's the dream you don't wake up from.
That's
Yeah.
a great quote because
In
yeah.
that voice.
And that
holy
voice,
Yeah.
and that
What
voice,
That-
a voice.
God,
what a guy.
that, you know, they talk about putting in your 10,000 hours. That man smoked his 10,000 cigarettes.
Yeah. And he just hangs up on her. He's like,
Yeah.
you think about
He's
that.
just like, this is how calls end in movies.
And she's like, I don't like him.
I don't like him.
And I'm like, probably no one does. I
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
What friends?
So Angel shows up off the clock to look at the ridgeline overlooking the farm and shows them the footage from the last few days to reveal that there's a cloud that has not moved a bit since he installed the cameras. And we fucking flipped when we noticed
we
this.
love this. It's
because
there.
you can notice it before. It's there the entire time in the movie.
And it never changes shape.
It
never
is
moves.
so good. We're all of
Yeah.
us like collectively watching it last night. We're like, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
And I like the reactions. Like, M is sort of like, oh, fuck that. And OJ's like, huh. Yeah, I've probably been looking at that
Yeah.
cloud for the last 6 months. He's like,
Yeah, he's like, oh, wow.
kind of amused that they tricked him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's funny too, because like we brought up DDA earlier, and he was saying, he was like, oh, it's funny because what they're doing is essentially replicating an error that you make all the time when you're working on a project where you just
like
forget to
digital
sort
stuff.
of glue one piece down correctly, and so like the whole sky, all the other clouds are moving, but
That's
this
so
cloud's
That one
not
just
moving,
stays.
Yeah.
and you're like, oh damn it, well now I got to run it back so many frames and glue it down correctly and make sure it, you know, tracks the way that it's supposed to. And so I know he was just very tickled with like, yeah, they basically just like messed up on purpose, essentially, with this one cloud, but none of us are paying that much attention.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all looking on the ground, you know.
So OJ begins to wonder if the craft isn't a ship at all because it doesn't move like a ship. And that's where we get cut to title card, Gordy.
Yeah.
And now we flash back.
Yeah, and now
This
we
shit
see
is rough, bro.
It
This shit
is.
is fucking tense, man. This is definitely like my favorite part of the movie, but it is
Yeah.
the like most tense in the entire movie, I feel.
Yeah, the balloons slowly,
Just
one by one,
popping, like
yeah, going up and touching the lights,
the lamp, and then they just pop. Like it's creepy because you get the wide shots of also like the audience, and like you
Yeah.
didn't notice this until like it took me, I think it was on the second or third viewing when I finally saw it. I'm like, oh, they're moving back there. That's
yeah,
fucked
they're
up.
they're all like
They're like
trying
Yeah.
to get
yeah,
behind the
everybody's like
chairs.
ducked behind a chair, and you can kind of see vague shapes of people like cowering and
Because
shit.
they've seen people try to run from Gordy already, and they see like I don't want to be the thing that moves and catches his attention.
Exactly. So we see the initial filming of the Gordy's Home episode that triggered the attack before it actually happens. You see, we're looking through the lens of the camera that's shooting the sitcom itself.
And Gordy's not even in the shot.
Gordy's not even in the shot. You just hear Gordy actually.
Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
like off camera, which is kind of crazy too, because that makes like a similar comment in terms of like they had all just taken it so much for granted.
Yeah.
that like we could just like rerun this scene, you know, retake this line, and he can be over there. None of us are paying attention to him, and he'll be okay. He
Yeah.
can like be to his own devices for a second.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, you know, I think any animal wrangler, like if any of them were responsible for Gordy, it could
Yeah.
have potentially been a different story.
Yeah, and you can hear one of
Yeah.
the crew members being like, "Gordy, wake up! We're doing the like." No one gave him
Oh,
a
yeah,
break or
yeah.
anything.
That's interesting.
I
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah, I
and
didn't
they're like
catch that,
laughing about like, "Oh, the monkey's not paying attention." Like,
That's
And
right.
they do
Wake up,
mention
buddy.
that it's like 3 chimps that play Gordy. They do mention that they switch them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like this one, and I think that's probably what he meant by met his limit, but it has that other sort of, you know, layer to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And we see Jupe retake an easy line, and both of his readings of the line are absolute dog shit. And it's just
Yeah.
like he was not a good actor. He
Yeah.
was not gonna like go on to do anything after this show if it wasn't for what happens next.
Yeah, exactly. So the attack happens, and when it does, we get a tracking shot of the set as it's being ravaged by the chimpanzee.
Ugh.
from Jupe's point of view.
Yeah, from Juice. Well, before that, it's just a tracking shot that goes
right.
into
Going
it. And
around.
it goes around.
Yeah,
and it
like the
shows-
balloon pops.
the balloon
and there's
pops.
Cuts to
Yeah.
black, and there's some screams, and then
You
they,
could see him in the very background. He's like through a doorway, I think that like kind of swings open. You
Yeah.
can see him like pounding on a fucking like corpse at that point.
He's,
Like,
yeah, and I think that's Mary Beth or
Mary
That's-
Jo. Yeah, Mary
That's
Jo.
the adult actress.
Oh, it's the
Yeah,
adult
yeah,
actress.
yeah.
Okay, so he's
Yeah, because
She-
he killed
she
her.
didn't
her,
make it.
then
Yeah,
he
she didn't
kills
make it.
her,
Yeah, he hurts the other one and then kills her.
and I think he kills the dad too.
Oh yeah, he definitely kills that man.
The actress, like, she's like very injured and like
Yeah,
trying to get up, and he's like,
Yeah.
"No, you're not getting up."
Yeah, you see like
Yeah.
her foot twitch. That's why I thought maybe she was Mary Jo, because she was. You definitely get the sense that she was like maybe like sort of a teen heartthrob, like Kelly
Yeah.
Kapowski
Exactly.
sort of.
Yeah.
You know.
Preteen star.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So she was a little older than Jupe.
I think maybe someone got her out of there because she survived.
Yeah,
so maybe someone
I think
was able to.
someone grabbed her and pulled her out, and then the adult actors and Jupe were
Ended
stuck
up-
on the
yeah,
stage.
getting
Yeah, because she was the most important. She was like the money maker. That's dark.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So Gordy is pounding on someone's face. when we finally see him, he's covered in blood and looks confused.
His paws with the
Drenched.
dripping like blood and
Drenched.
sinew.
And he's got
like,
blood all over his mouth too.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
And he's clearly distressed and confused and like
panicking.
He's
Yeah.
panicking,
And
exactly.
it's like, as horrible as this is, like this poor animal.
Yeah,
he's
it's really sad.
He's not
Yeah.
thrilled about what's going on. He's just thoroughly confused.
Yeah, he's just reacting.
He's fighting for his life as far as he knows.
Absolutely. So the sitcom dad tries to escape by running, but he's caught and beaten to death.
He should have stayed upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is where we have the point of view scene of young Jupe. He's watching Gordy. It opens back up into what we saw the movie open up with. He's watching Gordy as, he kind of moves a limb from this woman who's just bleeding out on the floor.
Yeah, and when he runs out to chase the actor down and beat him to death, Jupe is like staring at that shoe that's standing up.
The standing upright with just the one little mark of blood.
Yeah,
And he's so fixated.
it gives him something to focus on.
Yeah.
This like little miracle that this shoe would land like this.
Yeah, and it's like, is it real? Is it not? Is it something that in the eye of this storm he imagined to try and say that there's some significance to this?
Yeah.
I feel like no matter what, this is the one thing in the movie that doesn't mean anything. It's the one thing that
And
is
he thinks it means something.
exactly,
Yeah,
and
I'm
that's
inclined to agree with
the
that too,
meaning
yeah.
that we derive from it is just Jupe making the incorrect connections.
Yeah, he's like, this is special.
We look for meaning in everything, especially when it's not there, and
Yeah.
when there is meaning, we let it wash over us. And so it's just
It's true.
He just
No,
takes the
very true.
complete wrong lesson from all of this.
Yeah.
So the scene is now in the point of view of young Jupe as he watches Gordy approach him and offer an exploding fist bump.
Yeah,
As a sign of
well, that's what
Which
he
is their thing on the
thinks.
show.
That's what he thinks,
that's-
but I feel like he's more, because he reaches through the veil. It seems more like he's lifting it up, and that's just the shape of a chimp's hand.
Yeah.
So it's
He's just going like
and then when
that.
he bumps it, it almost seems like Gordy's like also
he never
confused,
does.
Like
he never does.
They
Yeah,
don't.
he goes like this. He goes close, and as soon as he's about to, he gets shot.
Yeah, right in the side of the head.
Yeah, so
Jesus Christ.
snipers have come in to
Snipers.
Yeah,
neutralize the
to
situation.
paint the walls with his
And-
fucking brains.
And they were there's a tablecloth between them.
yeah, that was the biggest. This was the biggest
and
read.
as Gordy reaches under, you can see one of his eyes
yeah.
through that space.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah, they
he's
do
like
make eye contact.
he's like beginning to
Interesting.
make eye contact with him. It's
Yeah.
it's like in his mind he's
Interesting.
starting to realize, because he sees the cloth, so he's like, what is going on here?
Because I really liked your read on this was like, because they knew that they were both being exploited, so he kind of like felt like a kinship
yeah,
to him. You know,
yeah, I
being
feel like that's like what Jupe wants to believe so much, is that he was like, please, you're the only one that like can,
Yeah.
understands.
Yeah.
And in reality, he's just like, what the fuck's going on here? If I move this thing,
Yeah,
and then
he's
he would
like-
see his eyes and be like, well, you got to die now.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's
So
a threat.
those
Look
are
at
the
me in
rules,
the eyes
dog.
as a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like that was a really good read on that. Either way, like, and that's what the vagueness of the way that the scene plays out
Yeah.
is so fucking well done.
It's so like meta and fun to be like, the meaning is that it means nothing, and he thinks that it means
Yeah.
something, but in reality it means, it's like
And
so
that's
many.
the meaning.
Yeah,
That's the meaning.
it's the golden puzzle from Hellraiser.
Yeah,
you know? It's
yeah.
just like, what the fuck am I doing here? Oh,
So-
I'm bleeding.
Gordy is shot in the head by police officers, and we see a transitional cut from young Jupe to present day Jupe while he's preparing for their family's new
And he's
show.
looking back in time like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's weird,
Yeah,
man.
he's-
He's got
he's
that
like-
1,000-yard stare, but it's that fucking like little grin on his
He's-
face that
he's
makes you
like,
so uneasy.
That day that I saw multiple deaths, maimings, and a chimpanzee's head explode
The
a
good
foot away
old-
from me. What a time.
The good old days, baby.
It almost feels like Dewey Cox, how he like thinks about his whole life before every performance.
Yeah.
You know, like it almost feels like that's what he's doing. Is like he just always thinks about this.
That's hilarious. Yeah, exactly.
He just runs the whole thing again.
He's got to think about his whole life.
Yeah, and they're kind of prepping for the show, so like
His wife is running him through his monologue.
Yeah.
For the Star Lasso experience.
Yeah.
Their new show.
Thank you.
His
I
wife
didn't-
makes me
I didn't
so
catch that.
uncomfortable. Like I just
She
really,
does.
I just really feel like, and like we don't get a lot, so it's like not, really. Maybe it's not necessarily valid, but like you just get the sense that, like we said, like she built him into this businessman and she's exploited him, and it's like to her, him and these children are investments, more than anything.
Yeah, yeah.
You
It's
get that
well,
sense.
she has that manager voice.
Yeah.
that she puts on.
She knows that she's not a draw in any way, so she can't be the centerpiece. But
Yeah,
she knows how to
yeah.
design this thing
Yeah,
and run it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're like, where the fuck did he meet her?
And often the people who are like the face of something like that are not the ones, like behind every successful actor, as I'm sure you guys know, is like a large team of people who
Yeah.
are balancing everything so
Who
that
can see it from that side perspective. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the way in which you're sellable.
yeah, so then that person can go on to have that life of all I do is show up and do the acting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because there's all these other people supporting
Like,
you who are benefiting.
You do what you do, honey. I'll just count the money and then we'll like go to the next one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I mean, goals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Better.
yeah.
Yeah, ideally. But yeah, they've got this show running
Yeah,
now.
and he starts. I love that he starts the monologue, and it's the same one that we heard before. Where he was
Yeah.
practicing.
What
at
if I
night.
told you?
What if I told you
Yeah.
that in about an hour, and then it just cuts,
Yeah.
and then we get the title card, Lucky.
Which is OJ's
It's
horse.
OJ's horse.
And you said that is an hour from the end of the movie.
So yeah, we're about to get to that. We're about
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
this is a fucking beautifully crafted movie.
This is
man.
a-
This
yeah.
is so fucking excellent. So while stormproofing the camera equipment,
Angel's
OJ,
over at the house.
Angel's
Again.
over again.
Angels and Airwaves, am I
He's
right?
He's just doing all this extra work for them. He's like, I gotta protect the cameras, we gotta get this footage.
Yeah, exactly. So OJ happens to see the flyer that Jupe left them sitting in a pile of horse
In a
dung.
pile of horse
Which is
shit.
great. It's just another piece of horseshit.
Yeah,
honestly.
it's another piece of horse shit. Exactly.
Yeah, and he has a gut feeling. He's like, I gotta go get my horse.
I have to do
But the
yeah.
line though, he walks off and he tells Angel, "I'm gonna go get Lucky."
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. It's like he has so many of these like heroic, intuitive moments, but none of them feel unearned.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Where
not,
it's
yeah.
just he's just like, now I know the stakes. Now I know what these things are capable of. I'm not letting this idiot, I don't. Yeah, he hasn't fully put it together, but he's like, I'm not letting this idiot do
Yeah,
this thing.
exactly. Yeah.
And
Yep.
then when just seeing Star, he puts it together. He's like,
Yeah.
this fucking
He's like,
guy.
God damn it, I gotta go fucking save this thing. So it's finally showtime at Jupiter's Claim, and everyone is given a shout out, including Mary Jo Elliott. She was his old co-star on Gordy's Home and his first crush, who survived the chimp attack. So she's seen wearing a veil similar to the one in the real story, actually.
Yeah. They've designed her character to look like Charla
Yeah.
Nash, the woman who survived the attack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed she's also wearing a glove, which means one of her hands was destroyed.
And I think
Yeah.
I think that also happened to the real person too. I think
Yes.
I think that's a thing as well, that chimps do have a fascination
for
with when they
Face
hurt.
and hands, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
When they hurt people.
It's crazy. So before delivering the same monologue that he's been practicing this whole film, he takes a deep breath to himself and he says, "You're chosen." And he goes on and he gives the speech and
Yeah.
he says,
I noticed that the arena is not very full at all. There's not many
Yeah.
Yeah.
people there.
Yeah,
So-
it's like the preview
that's
show.
what we were saying. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
preview show. So that's the only reason why
A
about that.
bunch of the stoners, teenagers that work for him are like there.
Stoner TV.
And we see too that the costumes the kids had are his merch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For all
yeah,
of
yeah,
it.
What
yeah.
they think
Yeah.
the aliens look like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is a movie that we're probably going to do eventually, The Fourth Kind, which
Yep.
I really like.
Love it.
But just the whole thing in there surrounding like owls, and
Yeah.
so they have very
Yeah, yeah.
owl-like faces.
The features for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. He says, in about an hour, you'll leave here different. My family and I have bore witness to an absolute spectacle, later on. But when he says that hour line, it is literally an hour and 6 minutes into the fucking movie. Left with another about an hour left.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not counting credits, almost exactly.
Yeah, it's
And
literally,
also,
yeah.
he says he's describing like we have encountered a UFO, and he tells the story of the first time it happened when he was trying to train a horse out here, and like this thing came down out of the clouds at exactly 6:13 p.m., which is when he's telling the Gordy story. He was like, it was 6 minutes and 13 seconds of havoc.
Wild.
So,
God
like,
damn it.
That's probably
fucking-
not true. That's probably some bullshit that he and his wife came up with. But the time.
Oh,
Time
God, that's good.
Yeah.
So he describes the experience of witnessing the flying saucer and dubs the alien species the viewers.
Which is so bad.
But it's hilarious because it's like he's talking to the audience.
Yeah, like
they're the viewers.
they
like,
are the voyeurs.
Exactly.
Here.
So when the craft is spotted in the clouds, they begin to try and entice the horse out of the cage to be sacrificed.
But they're not prepared because they have it's timing for them. They were like, oh, it'll show up at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And it's early and it's making some very aggressive sounds.
They're like, kids, come out here and do your little,
Yeah.
gabadoo dance. Like, and then they're like, just knock it off, idiots. It's here. It's happening.
Shut up. Go back.
And I noticed that Jupe is like, he's very flustered. He's thrown. He's like, oh, they're early.
He's not used to not getting his way.
Yeah,
And his
exactly.
wife is like, well, it looks like they're giving us a real show today. And he's like, yeah, they're giving us a real show today.
Oh,
Everybody-
they sure are. And you could tell that he's like, you fucking bitch. Like, I really felt like there was like an undercurrent of that. Of just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
you
like,
don't always know best.
yeah. He's
yeah.
like, well, if they're ready, we're ready. And he like can't get Lucky to come out of this glass box that they put this poor horse
Yeah.
in.
So
Lucky's
sad.
like, I'm not
reminds me
leaving
of
the,
the
box.
Cell.
Yeah.
I'm just realizing now,
yeah.
like, and we're gonna watch this morose thing happen to this.
Yeah,
animal,
exactly.
This horse in a glass,
case. Yeah.
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 But Lucky knows better than to leave this
Yep.
box.
He's
Yeah,
like,
he's like-
fuck no.
Yeah.
Fuck no, bro.
Literally, I'm
Yeah.
realizing that's a thing he says in the movie. That's a direct line.
That's,
He whinnies.
He neighs.
He neighs. They see. I love the way that the flags just kind of come into frame from the. You see the point of view from the clouds.
this is the
You
visual
just see
marker.
you just see literally.
Yeah.
You see the flags just like dip into frame, and then they say, "Bear with us. Trained animals can be unpredictable, y'all."
Yeah, he's such a fool.
Great fucking line. Great
Yeah.
fucking line.
He's such an absolute fool. Like I just can't believe it. He really does just think he's like OJ is probably the person that he thinks he is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And it's like OJ would never do something like this, and that's why.
Just asking for trouble.
That's why OJ is the one
Yeah.
with the
We
actual
should probably
knowledge.
mention his fucking
His
suit.
jean jacket.
His so goddamn good. I want that suit, man.
it's like an Elvis suit.
It is. It's like
Bright
an Elvis.
red.
Bright red, but it has a bunch of like I guess you would how would you call it? Like not bedazzled. Like sequins, I guess.
rhinestones.
Yeah,
And
rhinestones.
stitching.
Embroidered, embroidered like stuff. Like there's images of like on his back, it's like a UFO shape
with like a
With-
tractor beam.
with
Yeah.
tractor beam exactly going down.
Yeah.
And then along his side, like I think in the front, but he's got like flowers opening up. They're like blossoming flowers.
Big white flowers.
Big
Yeah.
white flowers opening up, which is to kind of allude to right now. We're about to get
That's
to this.
so interesting, man.
Yeah,
it
it's
really
so,
is.
It's so good.
It's like my like favorite manga artists will like discuss how they're like, you know, Araki specifically, the guy who does JoJo. He has a book called the Golden Theory of manga and anime, I think it's called. And in the book, he's just talking about like you always want to be moving forward with storytelling. You don't ever want to move backwards. You can take something away from somebody, but it needs to move forward. You don't want to like take away the sword and then have a big like we're trying to get the sword back because that's boring.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
And he talks about how like every frame that I draw has at least one, most often more than one, like specific meanings and purposes for being there.
Like
That's amazing.
foreshadowing.
Yeah, like everything that he chooses to show you
It's for a reason.
is for an exact purpose and reason. Like there's a There's a part where somebody gets a power up because of this arrow, and at the end of the fight, he drops the arrow, and it shows the arrow clink against the ground, and it's like the end of like you don't ever see this character again because it goes through different sort of periods of time.
Yeah.
And people on the internet argue all the time over, well, did he keep that power up? Is that like permanent now? And I'm like, well, he would not have drawn the arrow hitting the ground and clanking like uselessly unless he was saying like that is the end of this.
Yeah,
because
You
he's the
don't
type-
waste a shot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's literally what
and
he's-
that's what you get in this film.
Yeah, it's literally that's what Jordan Peele is doing with this movie. Is
Where-
that not a single fucking frame
Every
is wasted.
fabric, every poster,
Absolutely.
every fake property that he created
Yep.
for them to be tangentially connected to, every line of dialogue, everything serves at least one, if not more, purposes. So it's, we've said it before, and it's like, of course, we don't want to bash anybody else's taste, but like, I just cannot fathom watching this movie and being like, there's nothing here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just not trying.
Yeah, it's just, exactly.
It's like listening.
You're lazy and you're weak.
It's like listening to math rock and being like, this is noise. And you're like, no, this is like the most superb like composition since the classical greats. Like if you
Amen.
really want to talk about it, this is
goddamn man.
insane, the level to which these things have been scripted and created. You
exactly.
know?
Yeah. So everybody is sucked up into the craft, and we're treated to a shot from inside as it's happening.
Well, we get that amazing shot of like Jupe.
It's a
We don't-
close-up,
we don't
extreme close-up
see-
on his face.
We don't see it suck them up. We see him
the shadows.
watching and being like, "Oh, I fucked up."
Yeah, exactly.
As his hat is being blown
Yeah.
off his head, and you can see the shadows of people behind him being sucked out of the
So
arena.
It's just this absolute like, I truly am nothing, and I've been wrong
Yeah.
this entire
It's
time.
such an amazing expression on his face, and there are like tears in his eyes, and he's just like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
He's so doomed.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
good.
He, for a character who has like so little screen time, like honestly, he's probably on screen for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
in the whole
I never
movie.
really noticed that, but yeah,
But-
you're right. You're totally right.
But he's so memorable.
Yeah,
He's a
and-
massive part
and-
of the movie,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, he tells so much like rich story and like almost like lore, is like connected to him. It's like
Yeah.
it's just masterful to get this much, to squeeze this much juice out of one orange.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. And just the fact that he said when he's like, we've been visited by UFOs. I swear on my wife and kids' lives.
Yeah. I'd bet I'd
Yeah.
swear on my,
I think I said on
it's
Friday
so
night,
funny.
I was like, yeah, hold
He
that thought.
absolutely will. He absolutely will.
So absolutely everyone from the arena gets sucked
Everyone.
up.
They get got
Everyone.
everybody, and that fucking inside. That is the scene that stood out to me.
They show you the inside
It
of
is
this thing.
fucking
Yeah,
terrifying.
and
So
it's-
you see the inside of this craft just as you did in the opening title
Yeah,
sequence.
now you're like, that's what all of this
That's literally
was,
what
and-
this was.
And you literally see, I don't even know who it is
So-
that you
Just
see in
someone
there.
from-
It's
Yeah.
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 So it was hilarious too, is because as you're watching this before, while they're doing the show and they're presenting everything, you see the slushy machines are going.
Yeah.
And then they stop as it
Yeah.
happens, but it's like it's almost implying they're just turned into slushy afterwards.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
totally.
It's this terrifying, disorienting, like people are being pushed through these like narrow
Fucking
tubes
like a
made
birth
of-
canal.
They're like
Yeah.
But an
It's like
anti-birth canal.
it's like a horrifying bouncy castle that they're being squeezed
Yeah.
through, and everyone's screaming. And there's like this woman that you're following through this tube. She's like she comes face to face with the corpse of a horse
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
been in there for a while.
Yeah.
Dude,
The
like-
corpse of a horse, of course.
Exactly.
Dude, but like it's so scary because like when they don't show anything that's actually happening, you just see people just fucking on like a conveyor belt going up,
They just have this like sticky, like it's the esophagus, and they're just like, ugh.
and then they get
Being little
like
by little.
they show her like disappearing into some like fucking flaps or something. Like she just sits going in, and then she just starts blood curdlingly screaming.
Yeah.
It is.
yeah,
It's like terrifying and painful. is the
Yeah, exactly.
implication.
Because you're like, what the fuck is
yeah,
happening?
yeah. It's like you don't you don't want to live through dying. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you don't want to drown, you don't want to be burned,
Yeah.
like you don't want to get shot in the head, but like if you're gun to your head, being like you're gonna die. What's your poison? Not fucking poison.
No, yes.
Like I'm okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to shit myself for 3 days before I die. Just take me out, bro.
It's unclear if this is like, are they being crushed to get death? Is their stomach acid? Who fucking
Something
knows?
bad.
Yeah. You really
is,
don't know.
Is there even pain at that point, or is the pain
Or is it
later?
just terror?
Is it just terror right there? Yeah, because it's who knows? And they're all so on top of each other, and
Yeah, that's the fucking scariest
It's-
part. It's
it's-
just so claustrophobic
it-
feeling.
Yeah.
it feels like the bouncy castle. That's fucking
That's what I'm
hilarious.
saying. It's the most horrifying.
It almost feels like before, like when you see it at the beginning, it almost feels like cold and industrial, if not for like being
Yeah.
able to see some of the seams
Yeah,
in things.
because that's like that part is some other part of the inside of that creature.
Yeah, yeah, like
And this is like the stomach.
yeah,
Yeah.
it like almost has like mandibles with those like slushy machine kind of things where
That's
it seems like
exactly-
that rotates
yep.
and pulls in what gets pulled in.
Exactly.
And then
And
they
I'm
go
sure
up that chute.
We'll share at some point. I have a great diagram of the structure of this thing.
Oh, that's
that we can
awesome.
that we can study.
That's
God,
awesome. I
yes.
like that.
Off mic, we're doing this.
Yeah.
So OJ arrives at Jupiter's claim and sees that it's completely vacant except for
Completely.
and wrecked.
and just in pieces.
Oh.
Except for Lucky, who's still in this cage
And-
with the door
and the
wide
pig.
open. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because-
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We have to draw attention to the pig on top of the roof,
Of the sheriff.
standing next
that
to the
got
sheriff's.
Picked up from the petting zoo and put on the roof by
Like-
wind.
Like the gust, the outer gust.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he would have gotten picked up by the force. But we made this connection. Actually, I can't even take credit for this one. Podpa made this connection that the reason why that the pig most likely didn't get sucked up is because the pigs apparently don't look up physically.
Yeah, they're concerned. They're just trying to roll in and
Yeah.
eat shit. So their whole life is like, this is what I want down here.
It's in front of me. Look, I identify.
Yeah.
I get it, but I'm just saying.
So that's
that
a little
was
hint
such,
of what's to come.
Such a good fucking
Yeah.
read on this. Thank you again for all
Yeah.
that you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, we see him on the roof, and we see OJ's kind of walking through, and
He's like, where did everybody go?
yeah, exactly. But
Something bad happened here.
we come up on Lucky in the glass
He
case.
hasn't left his box because he knows it's not
He's
safe.
like, "Fuck no! I just saw what happened. I'm good in here."
Yeah. And I like almost wonder if like just because if the pig got lifted up, like I just wonder if Lucky got like lifted up within the case, like that just I just keep
Probably.
I just keep thinking about like the psychology of the animals in
Yeah,
this, like
Yeah.
just,
what is going through
like
their
like
heads?
Gordy didn't know what was happening. Do you
Yeah.
think any of these animals know?
No, fuck no.
Like
But it's, I mean, if you think about it, it's not any more or less mystifying than all the shit that humans do to animals.
Yeah,
Like, we're going
exactly.
over here now. You're going to
Yeah.
go in this box. Now get out of the box. Like, what the fuck
Yeah.
does it
Yeah.
all mean?
yeah,
From
lay
an
under
animal's
lay under the
perspective.
comfortable table where you can see us through it.
Yeah, stay in there.
Stay in there.
Yeah.
So OJ tries desperately to call Lucky to him, but the craft swoops down quickly and causes him to get knocked back on his head.
Like, it zeroes in. on
It
Yeah.
is like
It
I'm
like
fucking
angrily.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like it aggressively just swoops down like it's
And
about to get him.
This is possibly your best view of the outside of it so far. It looks like a hat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a giant hat.
Yeah, which this might be the point to say that like how incredible the poster design is. That
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of the posters
Everybody.
have everything in your face,
Yep.
but you have no idea what this movie's going to be. You
Yep.
have no idea what you're looking for.
But it's all there.
We have the one with the horse and the flags dangling.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yep.
well, what the fuck is any of this?
Yep.
And then we have the one with Jupe looking up, and you think he's wearing a hat, but if you really look closely,
Yeah.
you know, and it's
Exactly.
just, it's such like up close magic.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
It's just such look over here because I'm
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
it over here.
Misdirection.
you know.
Yep, exactly. So once he regains consciousness, he calls M and explains that the craft is in fact an animal that thinks this is his territory.
Yeah, and we do see too. I should say when he swoops down and picks him up. I didn't catch this till the second time because I thought the first time that it like crashed and that's what hurt him. But it goes over the like wooden tunnel that he's in, and because there's like all the brakes, it sucks him up and he smashes against the ceiling.
Yeah,
And
exactly. It knocks his ass. Yeah,
he gets fucked up.
Yeah, he gets tossed for sure.
Yeah, salad included.
Salad included.
But when he wakes up, Lucky is still there.
Yeah,
Dutifully.
and dutifully, exactly.
Yeah.
And he loads Lucky up. We don't see it, but he's driving home
And
with
it's raining
Lucky.
very heavily.
This is such a good scene.
It's amazing.
He driving home, his car suddenly stops, and the training horse from earlier is dropped through the window shield because he's like, this is one of those instances where again the nope counter that we had.
Yeah.
This is such a funny scene.
It's the thing is hanging out over top of the house.
And he notices the way it moves is like the rain will stop wherever it's going, and like it just stops falling
Yeah, he like
around.
sees the wall of rain
It's
like
so good.
have motion and it's like,
It's
Yeah.
so good because he sees it stop, and then he's like slowly looking up, like what the fuck is up there, and then he like cracks the door and he looks up, and then it makes the noise. I think it makes like the booming like sound, and he just like
It's like a clicking.
closes it. Yeah, exactly. He just like closes, like nope.
yeah.
Gonna stay in here then.
And at this point, Angel and M are inside.
Yeah,
And,
they're in
and
the house.
they I forget what they were doing because he was helping with stuff, and then I think
He was
just
getting ready to leave.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
She's like, I'll be back, later to take the tarps back off of the cameras, or unless you guys want to do it. And she's like, no, I like it better when you do it. And he's like, of course you do. So he's about to leave, but his
So good.
van stops working because of the power outage.
Yeah.
that's right.
So he has to go back into the house.
yeah, because he's like,
Yeah.
oh no, he gets hella scared.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
He runs in, grabs the kitchen knife, and is like,
He's like, we're in trouble.
we're in
Yeah.
trouble.
And
And
she's
ducks
like-
under the table.
And she knows that because she's just been on the phone with
Yeah.
her brother.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, it's an animal, it's territorial, and it thinks this is his home. And then the power goes out in the house.
Yeah,
And she's like, oh,
and the phone must break out too.
yeah. And OJ knows what that means. And he's like, oh, fuck.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, because Angel does drive the van a little bit down the road, because then it creates sort of the staging that we
Yeah.
need for the next thing.
Yeah.
So, back at the house, Em and Angel are being terrorized by the animal as it hovers above their house.
They hear screaming.
And,
The screaming
Evelyn
overhead.
mentioned the knife, but I just can't get over it. That this guy's like, this is gonna do something.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
Yeah.
gonna do whatever he has to do to survive.
It's that survival instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like they don't know what happened at Jupiter's Claim. They're not aware. Like he tells M on the phone, it ate everybody, but they don't have any frame of reference for why is there screaming coming from above the house? What the fuck is going on?
And what is it?
Yeah, and we're the only ones going, that's what the horse thing was.
Yeah,
Because at that point, too, you're like, is that just the sound this thing makes?
Yeah.
You know?
There are so many layers of discovery with this thing. Like, oh, that's
Yeah.
why that's happening. This is what this means. And yeah, this is like, it's flying around the sky with people inside it screaming. It's like the most horrifying, like, amusement
so
park
creepy.
ride you
Yeah,
could ever be on.
totally. It's,
Yeah.
what is it? Where it spins? The, like,
that like
Gravitron?
Gravitron, exactly.
Yeah, that's the most
like a
terrifying.
fucked up Gravitron.
but as it keeps going, you just like devolve into mush,
Yeah.
you know?
And you do, like, this scene you get to see inside of it again, and you can hear voices from all around it being like, oh my God, help me.
Yeah.
And then it, like, "Huh," and all the
It's- yeah,
screaming
you see-
stops.
you
It,
see
like,
what I-
squeezes them all to death.
What I say looks like tonsils.
Yeah.
It just looks like tonsils, like choke up and then
Yeah.
stop.
So it's just been carrying live people around in it, and then it's like,
So-
okay, I'm done, and it like just crushes them.
Savoring the taste, you know? Like,
Yeah.
like you don't always
Savor-
want to just like smash your food and be like, well, I don't even remember what that tasted like.
Yeah, you just want to
Like,
like
yeah.
a fine wine. Just
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
Swish
swish
it
it around.
around.
I'm like half joking, but it's also kind of like it mostly eats horses. I mean, like cattle mutilations are a thing. So obviously, that kind of fits in here. And then there's
he
like
took a lot of shit that's like in the actual like UFO, like investigation world. These are real things that they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like he did his research.
Yeah,
for this,
he did a good job
very interesting.
of taking these, disparate things that aren't actually connected and creating like a world with them and then creating this like what could, make sense of this and be so original. And, we talked about Sky Jaws and it's like, the monster's up there and, we all know the more you see a monster, the less effective it is. That's it's just a fact.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you get it out into the light, like there might be an intellectual reason to be afraid of bodily harm, but at that point that it's not just I don't want to see this thing because it's so horrific that seeing it like hurts part of my brain.
Once you can comprehend it, you're like, well, I understand the danger now.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of like the first time we were actually like seeing most of it too, like in a full, because it's like,
and it's not hiding. It's like
it's like
ready to
showing
go.
you like,
Yeah.
yo, this is who the fuck I am.
and it very much is being territorial because it goes right over top of their house.
Yep,
and
exactly.
it's like, this is where I'm gonna take a shit.
So
Yeah,
it's like
100%.
it's literally like I put this is the Slayer scene. So like literally
Yeah.
we just get the most metal fucking scene of all time. It literally just drains the blood
Rains
of
blood,
its
dude.
victims all over the house. It's
It
just
spits
like
coins and keys. And,
straight
and
into it.
receipts
It's
from the
so
theater.
cool.
And it's so
Yeah.
interesting because I get the sense that, it is their blood, but there's like other things mixed in it. And I get the sense that like this is like the closest thing to urine that it has. Like this is processed. It's not just spitting out all their blood.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can't believe that it just lets go of all the blood. Like this thing is, so hungry and so predatory.
Yeah.
It's definitely been processed to some point, and it seems like the bodies and the bones maybe take longer, but like that kind of stuff runs through its system faster, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's why it can't take the metal shit. It can't take all of
Yeah.
the things. It
And
just
it-
digests that.
It's been carrying that decoy horse around in it for a while, and it finally manages to cough it up on top of OJ's truck.
Yeah,
Exactly,
And
yeah.
It's like,
head
you take
first.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's so good. After a moment, OJ pulls up to retrieve Angel and M, and he uses the animal training skills to avoid being eaten by the creature who is clearly still hiding in the clouds above.
This is another moment where I think they spend the night, they stay in their spots overnight.
Yeah,
and
they-
in the
they
early
all do.
morning,
Oh, okay, yeah,
he
yeah.
wakes up in the truck and he's like, okay, we gotta get the fuck
That's
out of
right,
here.
that's right.
And I think
And-
that's when he looks up because it was over the house and it shit all over them.
Yeah.
And then it moves towards him and he's like, well, I can't do anything. And then I think they all just, not meaning to, they all just fell asleep. Like
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they just can't move.
they just hit that limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They're exhausted.
And then he
Yeah.
wakes up and he's like, well, okay, it must be gone. It's light out.
And he goes to the Fry's truck. He's like, this is our best option to get out of here is we'll take Angel's
Yeah.
truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Angel's Fry's van.
Yeah, and I feel so bad for Lucky. I'm like so scared
I
for Lucky and all of this.
know.
He's been so
He's-
confined for so long.
He's just in the back
From
of the
one
truck,
box
like,
into
guys,
another.
Guys?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and this is when he has another flashback. OJ is remembering the shoot that went really badly and how the orb was turned towards Lucky and scared him, and he's like, "Oh, we shouldn't look it in the eye." And he like looks down, and
Looks
it's
down.
it's out in the open, and it's right over him, and he's just like, "I'm just gonna not look up and
Yep.
see how this goes." And it just passes over.
It was
Yeah.
almost like that an example of entering an agreement with a predator, like he states later on. where it
Yeah,
was like
which
Jupe was trying
which
to.
Jupe believes he did.
He was trying to tame the predator. He said that was where Jupe went wrong. You need
The
to
deal
enter an
was only
agreement.
good between them because he was offering food, but they didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I saw a video recently where it's like a zoo trainer of some sort, and he throws like a big chunk of red bloody meat over a fence to a lion, and it goes back over the lion's head, and the lion's just staring straight at him. And it's just like,
Jesus.
that's bad, dude. This
Yeah.
guy should not be feeding the lions
Exactly,
anymore.
yeah.
He needs to move to other animals because this lion has decided
Get him back on seals.
this lion has decided it has a problem with him. You know, like that's very unsettling.
Yeah, that's terrible.
This is your sign. Take it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Get out of here before this goes worse.
Yeah.
So they hop in the van and head back to Angel's place to smoke weed and play VR games.
It's so fun.
Self-share.
So yeah, I was gonna say solid ass Sunday to me. Like, I don't know.
You telling me that man wasn't on the hub in that VR headset? He's like, I got company. I'll keep it to the headset.
And I think M is also trying out some.
Yeah, she's like
Oculus.
she's against
she's
the
like
wall.
she's like in the corner. Yeah, she's like about to bump into the wall.
And OJ's just thinking, just
Yeah,
trying
OJ's
to solve
pondering.
Again,
Yeah.
the grown up in the room doing the work. And I just want to say too, when he's like trying to get their attention, it's such masterful acting. He's just like looking at the ground, pleading for them to come, and he can't call out to them. He can't do. He's just
Yeah.
going.
Yep, he's like, come on,
But
come on.
and it's like how he would communicate with an animal, and it's like in that moment, he's like, "What do I do?" And he falls
that's
back
so
onto
good.
like that
Yeah.
skill set of
That's
like these
so good.
primal, nonverbal communications, and it's like nothing that he's doing is making them go faster, but like it's
It's just how he expresses.
Yeah,
it's just the
Exactly.
desperation. He doesn't know what else to do. Screaming is only going to make things worse, and
Right.
Yep.
and just all that like physicality from Kaluuya in that moment, like it's just
Oh, it's so
real.
powerful. It's
Yeah.
so it translates
real.
so
Like,
fucking well.
I feel like he's gonna start crying like any
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
there, you
Yep.
know, and it's
Absolutely.
like it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So the local news covers a story about 40 visitors going missing from Jupiter's claim, to which the police say we can't rule out flash flooding
Because
as
there's
a
storm.
possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, which-
and this is something that Antlers hears on the news. He's like, huh.
Yeah,
Guess they
yeah,
were
yeah,
right
yeah.
about Aqua Dulce, so he's giving it a second thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's funny too because it's like I feel like if we ever get a sequel, we'll probably go into this kind of stuff with it. But you very much get the sense that like as much as Angel's on some like wackadoo stuff, it's funny how it's like we're watching a movie about an actual extraterrestrial, and we
Exactly.
can still be like, all right, this guy's dumb. He's
dumb.
thinking of all this ridiculous
He's the crazy
stuff.
one.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, it leads me to feel like there was some amount of a cover up. Because that's just, there's no way that if, we're in this world.
We just have to put something out there to
Yeah.
calm the masses,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah,
It's
there has to be a working theory.
it's hard to believe that they would stumble upon this and no one else would have like ever had one of these experiences.
Exactly.
Especially, when there's Area 51 and deep underground bases and all those kinds of conspiracies, So like
Yeah.
I
and
could,
there is more allusion to that later on, that there is something known about this.
Yeah.
yeah, and I can
Yeah.
I can absolutely see in the second movie like not there's some corny directions to take it as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's just an element of like, yeah, they covered up what happened in Agua Dulce.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
They return to the ranch and find Antlers Holtz posted up, waiting for them. He points out the same cloud not moving and decides to help them capture the creature on film.
Yeah, and it shows so much that it's like he has the camera eye. Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't need to, you would probably know more than me, but I know there's like different like spectrometers and things like that you like measure light and you do all these things to like set up your shoot so that it's all
Yeah, light metering and
all the like scientific element to it, and you get the sense that just like this dude just eyeballs all that kind
Yeah.
of shit, that
Yeah.
he's just that guy.
And what he's like, they haven't told him anything per se, but like he's waiting there for them when they return, and he's like, that cloud hasn't moved.
Yeah, like that he picks it up. They needed to monitor for days and days and days and do all this stuff. It takes him 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, he
He's
could-
like, there's a wheelchair on your roof, and also that cloud hasn't moved. There's definitely something going on here. And they're
Yeah.
like, yes.
Yeah, like I get the sense, he's definitely been there a long time, but he figured that out
Yeah.
5 minutes
Yeah.
after being there.
Right.
Yep.
Also, that's Mary Jo Elliott's wheelchair on the roof, which is
Oh,
really fucking sad.
God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Didn't think
Yeah,
she's the
the
only one.
motorized-
She's the only one in a
God.
wheelchair. When he says
That's so good.
When he says to during the show, and my first crush, I'm just like, eat shit, dude. You're so obviously just trying to be like, I just want her to feel pretty, but it's just like, dude, fuck you. Like, a woman doesn't need that to like feel worthwhile, and especially someone who's gone through something like this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's like much of a concern to her anymore.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
she's kind of out of the race, you know, and not in like a mean way.
Yeah,
No,
but
yeah,
like,
it's
it's not
just
something
like-
that she would
It's-
necessarily
it, do-
want to
it
hear.
doesn't matter
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to
Yeah.
think about her physical appearance in
Yeah.
one way or another.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
it just comes off so crass and dickish, and
Yeah.
again, it's just about how it makes him look,
Yeah.
not about how
Yeah.
it makes her
Yeah,
feel.
it's all
Absolutely.
optics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So OJ explains that just like any other animal, it'll get hungry again, so they just need to draw it out of hiding.
Mm-hmm.
He says that Jupe made the mistake of trying to tame a predator when he should have entered an agreement with it.
And they're like, how the fuck do we
and,
do that?
And Antlers seems like he's like, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's like, hey, all right, bet.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you kind of get like a almost like a quiet respect that he didn't realize that he should have had for him sooner.
Before,
Right.
yep.
And
Yeah, like-
Antlers is like, well, simple, really. Like when Golden Hour rolls around, let's just feed it some horses. And Angel's like, horse people.
Yeah.
And yeah, OJ's like, no, we're not
We're not
that.
doing
Yeah,
There has to be
they-
another way.
They are not sacrifices.
Yeah, but like Antlers is like, obviously feed some animals to the other animal, and then it'll come out into the
Yeah,
open.
exactly.
Yeah, which I'm sure is a tactic he's used.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
And he's like, okay, then, well, how do we get the star out of his trailer?
yeah,
But
someone has to go up there.
But you know, it's kind of interesting because that's not something that like an ethical wildlife documentarian would do.
Yeah,
Right.
of course. You're just like
you would maybe,
documenting.
You would
You're
maybe
not
set
supposed
up
to
a
be.
stand because you want to see an animal that's elusive, and that's the only way that you can do it. But you don't want to like completely influence the patterns of behavior of these animals
Because that's not natural.
because you're making a film at that point.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
not
exactly.
documenting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they dubbed the creature Jean Jacket.
Named it after M's horse
M's
that she
horse.
never got to train.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that her father maybe he underestimated her, or maybe it
Yeah.
was just you're too hyper and maybe you don't have the temperament that I thought you would have by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just business. Like they were gonna get this gig doing Scorpion King, and they needed the horse, and they're like, well, it was gonna be your horse, but we've got this gig now, so.
Yeah.
And so she lost that opportunity, and that's like one of the early instances of her feeling like an outsider in her own family.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we do
exactly.
see in that flashback too, like we talk about OJ doesn't really make a lot of eye contact with anyone, but in that flashback he does the eye contact symbol
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
her when
Which
they're
was very
kids.
meaningful to her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it stuck
she's
with
like,
her.
Dad never looked up at me, but you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah,
he doesn't really
exactly.
look
And
up
they
at
just-
anyone.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple moments where I think here with Antlers where he's like, I'm gonna team up with you guys. We're gonna do this thing. I have a hand cranked camera,
This is the
and then
best
they
one.
just go, yeah, let's go. and
Does
just-
that tell you this motherfucker was gonna come up here with a non-electrical camera?
Yeah.
Let's go, boy.
and there's it's
They're so
so, like,
stoked.
OJ's face is like that's the most you get out of him the whole movie, and he's
Yeah.
just intensely looking in her
Yeah.
eyes, and it's so
Yeah.
like he can break those patterns because of their relationship,
It's
Yeah.
a safe place.
and
like,
it's, it's awesome.
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
really is. It's a movie about family.
Damn right it is.
Every time.
God damn it.
We're changing the podcast name to Ohana.
So OJ plans to use himself as bait in order to draw out Jean Jacket while Antlers gets the Oprah shot.
And I just realized because Evelyn mentioned it that he's wearing his Scorpion King hoodie. That
He's
was
wearing his-
the significance.
Yep.
Not only because it was bright, but because
Yeah.
I'm sure they have 1,000 orange hoodies each.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're just using all these pieces from all these like things that didn't quite work out to hodgepodge this plan together.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So we get the title card, Jean Jacket. And Angel has set up a grid of wacky inflatable arm flailing tube men to act as markers for when Jean Jacket flies over.
Which they've stolen, right?
They've
Yeah.
stolen all the batteries from different.
Yeah, I
Angel's
like.
like, sorry, dead people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they went back and stole the battery. Was it from the park?
All the-
Yeah,
yeah,
they
it's
were
from the-
stealing from all the abandoned cars, which
so
it
good.
says a lot about the fact that like it definitely was a cover up because otherwise you would start doing the like civil works process of like moving these things out. The only reason you would like leave all that there is because you believe there's some evidence or like some significant purpose.
All
to,
they did
like,
was put up caution tape.
yeah, which like really feels like, okay, well, someone's gonna come pick through all of this then, because like you don't just leave 40 cars to rust over in the desert forever.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
So we have them setting up, kind of looking overhead at their plan, and then enter Mr. TMZ, some random douchebag who shows up to ask about the recent disappearances at Jupiter's Claim.
Yeah.
Although that might have been his main objective, but it did seem that he kind of like snapped to attention when she mentioned Jupiter's Claim.
They were about to do their run with OJ on his horse as the bait, and they've got all this stuff set up so that the Windy Boys are there to show them where the power is going out.
Yeah, their perimeter.
When Jean Jacket goes overhead.
Yeah.
And it's all
Windy
been... They
Boys.
put so much work into this plan, and they're about to do it, and this asshole on a motorcycle shows up.
Well, I'm realizing because they mentioned later that there is an element of that it happened early, which is funny how much of this movie, like... It's funny how often I quote this because he's such a hack, but George Lucas, when talking about the prequels, was like, it's like poetry. It rhymes. And it's just like, shut up. You're not a good enough writer. But this movie has those, like, rhyming couplet moments.
Yeah.
So it has that,
Yeah.
like, he shows up, and I get the sense that, like, they were going to do sort of the practice run. And then this guy comes and screws it all up, and now it has to go right now. Because... you know, in a moment, Antlers would be like, "Oh, well, the golden hour," you know.
So funny.
Yeah.
Like,
So funny.
Yeah, with the TMZ guy is so creepy.
I thought he was going to be
Yeah.
like an alien hunter.
He looks
he
like
looks
he
like
looks
he
like
would've
one
been.
of those guys on the motorcycles in the movie Under the Skin. He looks like he's an alien entity himself. He has this his whole helmet is reflective, and then he's got this one dark circle.
I put Daft Punk would be proud.
Which is most likely like a camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
he's covered.
Yeah,
He's got a
he's covered
GoPro
in-
on his bike, handlebars. And the moment M comes up to him and she's like, "You need to fuck off. This is private property." He like gets out this
Flips
camera
out
rig
this
with
thing.
2 cameras on it, and he's like, "What do you know about the
Flips it
people
over.
at Jupiter's Claim?"
Yeah.
And
just
he's
starts
like, "Who are
grilling
you?"
her.
And she's like, "Nobody." And he's like, "Don't you want to be a somebody? You don't look like a nobody to me." And she's like, "Nope."
And that's how she knows. She's like, it's TMZ. TMZ's
Yeah.
here.
Yep, exactly.
And then she doesn't engage with him, and he's like, "All right, we'll see you, nobody." And he takes off to go down
This is so
into
good.
the zone.
So he drives off in the direction of the Sky Dancers on his electric bike, and he's met with an anti-electric field that sends him flying hilariously.
Yeah, the questioning of it is so funny.
It's so funny.
And
What do
then-
we have? What do you get when you have an electrical force moving 60 miles an hour into an anti-electrical field?
Going the opposite
Going
way.
the opposite direction.
Yeah, and he screams like
That fucking scream is so good.
He wants to project so much like power.
Yeah,
like not
yeah.
like maybe not power, but just like confidence and like control. And then he's just like and the way he just flops when he hits the ground.
yeah, it's so good.
And everyone's like, well, this is happening.
Yep. So
Yeah.
OJ rides over to investigate, but the dude is clearly concerned about finding his camera first.
Yeah, he's like, "Take a picture, man. Take a picture."
And if
He's
OJ
like-
got it on film.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that must have been sick. Like, we'll be famous. Like, hey, take pictures of me before you move me. And
And he calls OJ Scorpion King. He's
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
he
"Hey,
says, be a Scorpion King.
that's so funny.
Yeah, he says, be
Yeah.
a Scorpion King.
What a-
Make a name for yourself.
What a just like loopy head wound thing to say. Like,
yeah."
Head wound.
And OJ's like, "There isn't time for that. We gotta go." And he's trying to pick up this guy who's like, probably all his bones
Yeah,
are
it's
broken.
probably broken.
And
Yeah,
the guy's
it-
like, "You can use my camera. Just get a shot of this."
he like screams when he touches him too. Like,
yeah,
you,
He's really
he's
fucked
like,
up.
yeah, he's
bad.
fucked up.
Yeah.
And OJ tells him like, close your eye. And then he looks at how shiny it is, and he's just like, hey, my bad, man. And
Yeah,
just-
and you can
My
see
bad, man.
you can see Jean Jacket reflected
let
in the
go
helmet,
back.
and the guy's like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Sorry, I gotta go."
yeah.
I gotta
Hey,
go.
it's been real.
Yeah.
We had a lot of laughs.
Yep, and he gets ate up real quick.
Yeah, he's left behind and eaten by Jean Jacket, who also tries eating the sky dancers, but he spits them out.
Yeah, and I think this might be because earlier we kind of see it, but this is where we really get to see that like it has like a natural filtration organ or something for the dust, and it like spits all the dust back out when it's
like
done.
farts it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really dry.
Yeah. Really try.
Yeah, and you can like the TMZ's guy's screams are really project because he's like straight out of the mouth of this thing and also inside his helmet. He's just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
He's clearly having a terrible time up in there.
Yeah.
So Jean Jacket swoops down to try and eat OJ while chasing him, but he flies away when OJ pulls a string of flags from his pack.
He's decided to do the run
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
to get the shot, and so Antlers and Angel are using their respective cameras to capture.
Yeah, and they just have this like Gatling gun of a like film setup.
Just this film camera giant thing that which is an IMAX camera. This movie is shot on IMAX.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yep.
And then M is monitoring the security camera, so she's keeping an eye on the overhead of what's going on, and she is deeply concerned about her brother.
Yeah, and we should say he like on the back of his hoodie because when he starts the run, he pulls up the hood and he has two like green reflective things that are functioning like eyes that are looking up at it to piss it off.
Yeah.
And then when he gets it in position, he pulls the flags to make it pull back.
Yeah.
And we get that just awesome
Because
like
it doesn't want to eat flags. It knows them and knows that they suck. So it's like,
Yeah, that fucking swoop that it does, that sideways swoop.
and
is
the
so good.
rippling on its like
on its,
like
like-
mushroomy
Yeah.
like textured.
It's so cool. It looks like a
flesh.
sheet like flapping in the wind.
Yeah.
Like, it's like layered over it.
Yeah.
So Antlers looks at the sky and says over the walkie, the light, it's gonna be golden soon.
Yeah. So they're all like, we got it. We're good. We got the shot. And he's like,
no, we don't have the shot though. And he turns to Angel and says, we don't deserve the impossible shot.
He's
before-
like, it'll be okay, Angel.
It'll be okay. And
And
then
Angel's on the walkie like, Antlers
he
just said some cryptic shit.
Yeah.
And he's walking up the hill.
Yeah, they're all like, oh, fuck.
Everyone's
What's
like,
he
this is
about to
real
do?
bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's eaten instantly. Well, Angel is sucked up and spit out because he's wrapped in a blue tarp. He gets wrapped in a blue tarp on the way up.
He gets when he sucks up Antlers, and we see this awesome point of view of the handheld
Yeah.
camera
Cranking
that
all the
he's
way
holding.
in.
So we see the
His
whole
feet go
lot
up in
of
the air
process.
and shit. Yeah, it's so cool.
But when that happens, the like kickback throws Angel down the hill, and then the tarp that was like protecting them, he gets wrapped up in. So he hasn't got
Which saves him.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he hasn't gotten sucked up yet. Yeah, because he's staring right at it, and then the tarp just
Covers his
completely
eyes.
takes him out and rolls him down the hill.
Yeah. And this is where Jean Jacket gets very like pissed off, I think, and aggressive because in a very short amount of time it tries to eat everybody and starts like ripping up buildings, which it hasn't done before.
Yeah,
and
yep,
it's
yep.
It like tears up half the house.
it doesn't like that they actually fought it. It's never had a meal like hurt it until the horse.
Yeah.
And then it's never had potential prey attack it until he pulls out the flags. So it's like no holds bars. You're all dying.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm an angry predator.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
And-
Fuck you.
And so I want to
fuck
say
you.
like we're talking about like the name importance. Antlers dies staring into the headlights like a deer.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
you know, and
So good.
It was his choice.
and it was
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
as I believe you said earlier, his foreshadowing statement earlier.
Yep.
If you go up on the hill with all eyes on you, basking in the golden light,
Yep. It's
that's
not,
the dream you don't wake up
it's the one
from.
you don't wake up
Yeah.
from.
And I'm curious about there was a moment where he was like, when they're getting ready to go do their plan, he's like taking some pills and Angel is like curiously watching him, and like you wonder if maybe Antlers is like, you know, maybe not dying but like not in his best health, and
Wow.
he's already
Yeah,
seen
that's what- yeah, we had
so much
also-
in life. He's
Wow.
like he's very
Yeah.
tan and like grizzled and wrinkled, and he's like seen a lot,
Kinda
and he's
had
like
that.
bored.
said, that voice.
Yeah, dude. that
he's
fucking-
he's sort of like seen it all, and like he knows it's never gonna be
Nothing's
better
ever
than this.
nothing's ever gonna top this.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's like, I'm just gonna go in filming.
And it's
Jesus.
that interesting like art for art's sake, like I don't care that no one's ever gonna see it because I will have made it.
yeah.
And it
Yep.
doesn't matter that it gets destroyed the second it's created.
It's kind of cool, yeah, when you put it in that context that it means more
Yeah.
It's
after we've kind of
it-
dissected it.
It's like sculpting during the eruption of Vesuvius. You know? It's like
so good.
like that, and that's
such a good-
just I don't care. I'll die,
Oh, man.
and this will not live any longer than me. But like I will
Wow.
create
This
my
is the
magnum
pinnacle.
opus.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
wild. That's a great
The band on the Titanic, baby. You know, like
the best. I love that. But yeah, he when Angel's knocked down and he's wrapped in the blue tar, he quickly strings barbed wire around himself
yeah,
Very smart
before he's
move.
he's also sucked up again.
which I feel is a callback to the knife. It's like by any means necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is like, there's no way that we can fight this thing, and he takes the knife, which seems so silly, but then in this moment he like thinks about it and he's like, this might kill me, but motherfucker, it is
But
gonna hurt
yeah,
you.
exactly. He's like, fuck it, I'll become the knife.
And it,
Yeah.
it keeps him attached to the ground so he doesn't get pulled up.
and those delicious like guitar twangs
Yeah,
when when each stake gets pulled up.
Yeah, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
They're all
cool.
like so dissonant.
It's,
Twang.
yeah, it's so cool. M is also almost eaten, but she manages to narrowly escape. That's kind of just one of those lift up and drop ones.
yeah.
And OJ is hiding inside that shed again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on
When
it.
Jean Jacket comes by with the flags, he dives off and hops into that shed, like sort of by the arena.
Mm-hmm.
And then M is watching the feed in the building where there was like the fake out with the kids as the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he destroys. Like that's the first building he starts tearing up
Yeah.
is where M is.
Yeah.
And I want to say too though, because we like sort of brushed past it like the tiniest bit, but like when I first saw this and he got on the horse, because this whole movie they're horse people and only his dad sits on a horse. He doesn't ride the horse, he sits on the horse.
Yeah.
So when he finally got on the horse and is like, I'm embracing my destiny and my lineage and this challenge, it's such a hype like suit up moment. Like you're
Yeah.
just like, hell yeah, this
Oh,
is what
yeah.
I've been waiting this whole movie to see.
Yep,
And
exactly.
that massive shot.
Is him riding Lucky specifically.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
And the jean jacket is just so huge behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so triumphant, the showdown at the corral.
Yeah. So she walks past OJ and we see Jean Jacket has shifted shape entirely. And now appears
Unfolded.
Yeah.
it appears like a large parachute like being
Like an orchid or something.
yeah, like blossomed out like a flower.
Yeah.
I put with a cloaca at the center.
Yeah.
Just because I like that word.
I think it's an eye.
Yeah, no, I
It's-
don't exactly know. It just looks like it's something that just like drapes
It
out
looks
and then
like
just keeps
seaweed to me.
yeah, and it keeps like
And-
clapping
It's
like
like-
outwards. Like
There's so much like incredible symbolism in this. We've got the flaps that we like see a view from behind it at one point, and we see
Yeah.
it like expanding at OJ, and I think Evelyn pointed out that was like the curtain, the table.
veil.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the veil being yep.
Yeah, like there's
Oh, yeah, it looks like the green eye is a square.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks very much like how the lights on Gordy's home, the show, shine
hitting
through
it.
the green tablecloth
yeah.
from Jupe's perspective.
You
Yeah.
know that has to be a
How is
design.
that not- that
like
can't be
yeah,
a
that literally
coincidence.
There's
way
like
that's not a
so
joke.
many layers. Like as you
Yeah.
look at this thing, you just start pulling apart all
Yeah.
these different things, and
Absolutely.
it really reminds me of like a mushroom, and it just makes me think of like how the biggest living things on Earth are like giant fungus and mushroom colonies that are like miles and miles wide.
Yeah.
So it's like ostensibly because of like the square cube law. I don't know if you guys know what that is,
No.
but it's basically it's the reason scientifically that like Starship Troopers can happen because bugs can't be a certain size. Their organs and bodily systems wouldn't work at that size.
It's just too much weight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And everything kind of has that. And it's why, like, Gundams wouldn't be feasible because they're larger than the square cube law allows. And same with, like, Godzilla and kaiju and stuff like that. It's
And
like
that's why like animals in the sea are so big, is that they don't have
exactly they don't
gravity on them.
they don't have those same restraints. Yeah.
And it is also like, I mean, among so many other things, Jean Jacket is like a lot of different sea creatures.
Yeah,
Like it looks like
yeah,
a sand
it
dollar,
looks- yeah.
and then it looks like a jellyfish.
Like a jellyfish, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and me and Clifton were both laughing about how much it looks like Diamond Weapon from Final Fantasy VII, like specifically. And we already know that Peele loves so
Peele-
many different things. Like, I don't doubt he's played Final
Absolutely.
Fantasy VII.
This well,
Like,
he
there's
talked
no way.
about these being inspired by the angels from Evangelion.
Yeah,
you know
and
what I
it's
mean?
very
like-
it's very clear if you've seen Evangelion.
yeah,
like,
and we're gonna get to the Akira slides too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, he
Yeah.
obviously has done his homework.
He's he's a
Yeah.
man of culture.
A man of culture.
indeed.
So OJ he mounts Lucky and faces his demise head on.
And it's so badass.
It's so good.
He's
It's
like,
so
you're not
good.
gonna hurt my sister.
Yeah.
Like I will gladly die
Mm-hmm.
to protect her.
And they have this long moment right underneath this thing that keeps turning inside of itself, turning its eye towards her and towards him and back towards her. It doesn't know which one to look at.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
so
And they're
cool.
just looking at each other, and they're like, "I
And
got you."
and yeah,
Yeah.
and it's so good. It's so powerful emotionally, that just that little, and like right as he does that, because I think he yells to her before it starts coming towards him, where he's like, when it comes here, go, get on the bike and go.
And he's trying to give her enough distance so that it's electric, so that it can start up again.
Yeah, because it really is like a game of inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's just
exactly.
like, and you see the bike power up, and you just see all this pain on her face, and she doesn't want to leave him behind.
Yeah.
And then I think she screams at it and starts driving away.
And it chooses to follow her.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So scary. She takes off on the electric bike and lures Jean Jacket to Jupiter's Claim, where first she does the Akira slide.
Yes, she does.
And on her way in, again, as Clifton pointed
Yeah.
out, the streamers.
She's going through the police tape.
Yeah, and it looks just like in the clown gang fight at the beginning of Akira.
That's
When
hilarious.
they're fighting the clown gang.
Oh
It
my
looks
god.
like
Tracers
Yeah.
from the taillights.
Exactly.
Rip
Yeah.
the fuck out. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love this goddamn movie.
But
And-
there's nothing happening.
Yeah, there's no,
It's all
there's
meaningless.
nothing
Yeah, there's
happening,
nothing
but
to gain
there's
here,
no
but-
meaning to it, whatever. She releases the large balloon hanging over the park as a trap. So it's a
The
huge
mascot balloon that
mascot
looks like
Of Jupe.
of Jupe.
Of Jupe. And it
Yeah.
was
So
and it was
funny.
I forget who pointed out, but when we were watching it, there's when they're in the arena at Jupiter's Claim, where they're doing the Star Lasso, you see one of the shots of the crowd, and you can just see the hat of this mascot.
Yeah,
back
it's in the
there.
background. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it looks like a UFO a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Nothing left on the table
No,
whatsoever.
Yeah.
absolutely not,
Every
yeah.
part of the animal.
Every part. She
Is that apt? I think it's apt.
It is. It's very apt. She uses the wishing well camera nearby as it falls for the bait and finally captures the creature on film.
Which we should say was foreshadowed earlier.
Yes.
The Winkin'
it was.
Well.
Yeah,
Yes,
the Winkin'
yeah.
well,
There's
yeah.
when they first come into Jupiter's Claim, she looks in as some family is taking a picture.
They're looking down the well and she's like, "What's going on down there?" And then
Yeah.
snaps the picture.
Photobomb.
Yeah.
And it's
Photobomb.
and it's because we see the poster for Kid Sheriff at some point, and that's the poster. Is it's like looking
Yeah.
up out of the well, and it's him and the other people like, oh, we're in a goofy '90s movie, you know?
It's basically a poster from Holes.
Yeah, pretty much,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
But she's released this balloon, and she's like, "That'll fuck you up."
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
like,
It's
"Eat
gonna
that,
fuck you up.
motherfucker."
It's gonna fuck
And
you up.
it's so great how it becomes that, you know, young Jupe had his stare down with Gordy, and now this giant fake Jupe is
Yep.
and he had his stare down with Gordy, and then something else killed Gordy.
Yeah.
And now this thing, which is really M's weapon, goes up and has this stare down, and like, yes, it hurts it,
Yeah.
but it's M doing it. It's not the object doing it. So it's still this
Yep.
like he's involved in both of their deaths and their demise, you know, but like not in the way that he had ever envisioned or interpreted
Yeah.
for himself, you know?
He didn't have any effect on it directly.
Yeah, as much as you're chosen.
Yeah,
He is-
the Your Chosen thing was
He
so
is a
good.
side character.
Yeah,
in all
at
regards.
best.
Yeah.
At best. So the jean jacket swallows the balloon and explodes midair.
Oh,
It's so good.
it's just all that helium and all that pressure, and then the
Yeah.
friction on that like mylar balloon
Mylar, that's so good. Yeah.
outer covering. I think that's what
Yeah.
they made.
Yeah,
out of.
yeah.
Like we don't see flames, but I wouldn't like. It feels like it's an actual explosion.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not just force.
Yeah, yeah.
There's like,
And
it's
there's
bad.
not even
Yeah.
a level of suffering there per se. Like that creature is like instantly killed.
Yeah,
It's
just
done.
Like,
Yeah.
it's cool because
It's
it
like-
actually it's like spread out like a jellyfish, and then it engulfs the balloon, and it returns back to the shape that we've seen it,
It
in the whole
becomes a
movie.
hat again.
It becomes
Yeah.
a hat again, and then it fucking explodes, which was
Yeah,
great.
and you
I
see
love
that
it.
balloon face of Jupe like stretching around inside
Yeah,
of
and
it.
it's like pointed like finger guns. Like I love
God.
that.
Yeah.
It's so good.
and then seeing like its corpse becomes like the husk of a balloon.
it just looks like
Yeah,
a cloud.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just-
yeah.
Yeah.
Deflated.
And I
Yeah.
gotta say, without fail, like in every monster movie that I've ever seen, the death of the monster is always sad. It just is. And even,
Yeah.
even here, because it's
Yeah.
like, it's an animal it's trying to eat. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
its fault.
Like,
that,
oh, buddy, come
Even
on.
going back to Frankenstein, it's like you just don't understand. It's
Yeah.
not your fault.
Yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
ask for any of this.
yeah, it's just a creature that's trying to find food to eat, and like it got fucked
Yeah.
over.
Exactly.
So
So once the dust settles, we see OJ sitting atop Lucky, looking all badass.
So
and she,
cool.
She thought her
So
brother was
cool.
dead, and then she sees him, and he's like a legend on a horse.
And
Mm-hmm.
she like closes her eyes, and you can tell that she's just like, calm down. You've been through a lot. Let's
And
recalibrate.
there's all that haze.
That's so much.
Yeah.
And we don't see him yet. We see her see something.
Yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
she's like, okay, hold on, center yourself.
Yeah.
Chill out. You've been through a lot. Like, I don't
Make
think
sure
that
where
this
this
is
is
correct.
happening. Yeah.
And then she opens her eyes, and he's there.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just if you're one of the people who's trying to tell me he died and she's just seeing this, like I
No.
completely disagree.
Yeah, I don't think that was how that was meant to be read.
In
And
a
we
movie
have
like
to
this, you don't waste the frame.
No, we have to note that she got her Oprah shot in a way. She did it with a series of photographs with the oldest possible camera that she could access.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way in which she finally managed to capture this thing was in the Muybridge way. A series of photographs
Yeah.
that makes a moving image.
Motion picture.
I would really love to see in the next movie that as like the horse at the beginning of like the
just the images of
just
like jean jacket.
of like a GIF almost, because that's
Yeah.
what they did with the horse.
Yeah.
Was it like repeated like a GIF?
Yeah, it was like 15 images in a row or something.
Yeah.
That made up 2 seconds of
yeah.
Yeah.
motion. Yeah.
And they all lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
And then-
That's the movie, folks.
The press shows up.
The
They
press
show
shows
up
it,
late.
yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so good. Yeah, you just like I don't know, man. This movie, like, we've just sat here almost 3 hours, like, gushing about it, but it legitimately is one of the most fun, like, movies I've seen in a very long time. Like, this was last night was my, or 2 nights ago was my 6th viewing of it. I can watch it again right now. It's
Yeah, I
fucking
could.
It's
I could.
amazing. It's an amazing
I think
movie.
I will watch
Like
it
I
again.
said, I don't
Exactly.
rewatch movies very often, but like I definitely would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good. Again, there's just so much to take away from here. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
like
it's packed with stuff. Yeah.
Usually, when we have these conversations, a lot of what all of us say is a lot of like yes ending, where like we all are like on the same page with it. But I feel like on this one, there was so much that both of you said that completely escaped my notice.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe opposite, but it's like there's
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
There's so much for us to get from it still.
Yeah,
And there's
absolutely.
everyone that I've talked to has pointed out something that I didn't notice, and we've read so much stuff like on Reddit that other people have noticed, and just like the discussion that has arisen from this movie so quickly. It just
One
came out,
movie.
but
Yeah.
there's like all this stuff that you can read online that you're like, oh yeah, that means something. That's
It was funny. After we finished the movie, Clifton went to bed. He was the first one to go to bed. And we're all out there like gushing for like another 25 minutes. And he just walks out, still fully clothed, with his cell phone in his hand. And he's like, I just read this on Reddit. Everyone quiet. And he just outlined the theory that, Jean Jacket is a space alien and is from Jupiter. And it's because of the way that the eye of the storm of Jupiter has, remained constant, similar to the way that the cloud does, and that if there's a bunch of these and they have these electromagnetic fields, like maybe that has to do with that, and maybe they live within that,
and the gaseous quality of the inside working of the creature.
And then also just the fact that it's Jupiter's claim is its territory. So it is Jupiter making its claim, and it's just like. The thing is with this movie, if you can get like 2 or 3 things that are like kind of evidentiary behind your statement, I'm at least gonna look into it. This is a hard one to just like brush to be like, no, obviously it wasn't a dream. This stuff was real. Like there's a lot of stuff in here to pick apart. I wish I would have thought to like go through and try and put every film reference because it really is just like from the horse jockey, the I think they say Bahamian horse jockey.
Yep.
And like from him all the way through to all these different eras of film, there's just so many winks and nods and homages, and
it's always referencing itself.
Trope flips and playing tropes straight, and like it's all about like, every story has been told. So many things are the hero's journey. But at the end of the day, like if you can mix up these tropes in an interesting way, that's what makes a unique story.
Something new.
Like everything under the sun has happened in a story, but it's about the combination and the exact interplay. Like you're not going to come up with an entirely unique story beat because there's going to be something that is analogous to in some way.
Every story's been written, every song's been written. Everything is just a remix of itself.
I just can't believe the genius of making a flying saucer a living creature.
An animal, exactly.
Like, and it's so genius because and it's what I've been saying repeatedly, that everyone's like, alien movie, well, it's gonna have 2 arms and 2 legs and a head and a torso, and it's just like, well.
But why?
But what about this thing that lives in the gas of Jupiter, in the eye of the storm of Jupiter? You think that's going to have 2 arms and 2 legs?
That's what I love about like the alien in Annihilation is something that it has different forms and it's not easy to understand, and it's like a substance sometimes. And
we will absolutely do Annihilation.
Nice.
We will do Annihilation someday.
And it's same with the being in the movie Upstream Color also is at its core a substance that takes
like
refuge inside of other
interesting
creatures. It's essentially a parasite.
And Untamed, of course.
Exactly.
Which if you're listening to this one and you haven't heard our Untamed episode, that's
feel,
definitely where you should go
getting
next.
A little freaky.
We're creating all these like subsets of movies, and like overall we have so many family films, but then we have like our pregnancy scare movies, and now we're kind of building these like
aliens who fuck
ethical extraterrestrial films. It's like just more than. Like, I love The Fourth Kind, and I feel like maybe even that kind of fits because of, like, that
would definitely
the relationship that, like, night terrors and psychology play in that film, where it's, like, more than just, okay, it's an alien and it's tearing you guys apart, and, like, I don't know, man, like, it's they fight other aliens.
I don't know, dog.
Whatever.
Like,
you know what I mean?
So, I mean, it sounds like the rating is gonna speak for itself, right?
Yeah,
It
we
sounds like
already know. Let's.
Can we go higher than a 6?
I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to ask
We're
permission.
just gonna enshrine this one as we're not even gonna rate it. We're
Yeah.
not gonna insult.
You know what it is.
We're not gonna insult it with
You
the
know.
rating.
Not
Yeah.
even salt.
This is a masterwork.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Like
Yeah.
all of our
Yeah,
other
absolutely is.
movies are, very good. I would say so far. But this is a guy who's very much hit his stride.
Yeah.
And I hesitate to say can do no wrong, but like I'm a huge fan of his comedy. I'm
Yeah,
a huge fan
yeah.
of this. He blends the comedic and horror timing so perfectly. He understands the flow of a story, how to characterize.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing is like being funny, breaking down all of these things to get
Yeah.
a joke teaches you so much about structure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Yep,
in
yep.
a way that most people would like, oh, he's just a funny guy. Like,
Yeah.
no, to like parody something, you have to be really good at understanding what that thing is and what makes it tick. And that in and of itself is a skill to have that kind of analytical mindset.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? So this is
1,000%.
this is a perfect film. Like
Yeah, no, absolutely. No frames were wasted. No characters are underdeveloped. You're not left with like tons of questions. It is wrapped up.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful movie on
it-
every single level.
It can live in your head rent free.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And I love that. Like that's the thing though, is like a good piece of art has extreme reactions. I'm not really interested in the 80% of movies that are okay. This is the way that I envision all art is 80% is okay, is subjective.
yeah.
20%, 10 on either side is objective. There is bad art.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
there is good art. And there's all the stuff in the middle. But there's points where it's like, I don't care if you don't like Rush. You can't tell me that they suck. You can't tell me that they're bad.
They've earned their
you
spot.
cannot like them, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
That's totally fine. It's not the sound for everyone, but
Yeah.
it is not a lack of their understanding or musicianship that is creating that within you.
Yeah. You
You
have
kn-
to respect it.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And,
Even
and,
if
exactly.
it's not your thing.
and same with
Exactly.
some things are bad. And it's those two, polar opposites that create all of our understanding of what is good and bad.
Interesting.
And
Yeah,
there's and
I
I
do-
and
yeah, I
I'm
agree with
totally
that.
down to say, so much is subjective, so much is just, but it's like MF Doom. You can not like MF Doom, but if you're a rapper,
But you will respect that, man.
yeah. But especially if you're a rapper, you can't look at his lyrics and tell me that he sucks. You can tell me
Yeah, scientifically, the shit slaps. Like,
you can tell me you don't like it, and
Yeah.
that's fine.
or you don't get it. and
Yeah.
that's also fine.
Yeah. But there's just some stuff that defies this
Yeah.
whole notion that everything is subjective.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Are we gonna close her out on this note, or are we gonna?
Well, I
you have the question.
I do.
You do have a question.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Hit us
actually
with-
I raw dogged this episode. I didn't take any notes. I just completely this one was off the old noggin.
Yep,
So
off the cuff.
I just had way too much going on with
Yeah.
catching a flight, and yesterday I was practicing my set all day long.
Understood. Murdered it on stage, by the way.
Thank you. So did you. Last night
Thank
was
you.
awesome.
Oh, stop.
Oh, you. So I was thinking of being like, well, what is like sort of your relationship to film? But we sort of talked about that before. So I feel like maybe like sort of a better question is like, have you ever had to deal with like the bad side of humans and animal interactions in terms of like, have you ever been attacked by an animal or had someone be attacked by an animal?
I definitely know, like, my family members have gotten, like, attacked pretty severely by, like, dogs and stuff. But
Yeah, that's a
it's never-
common one.
Yeah, it's never really been. I know that.
It doesn't have to be really, really bad, but I just mean if anything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
I know my girlfriend works with animals pretty frequently, so like she has horror stories for days.
Oh, I'm sure.
it's pretty fucking harrowing to listen to them, but that's probably the worst. I don't as as severe as fucking Gordy did. I don't think.
Yeah,
so.
not that bad.
I don't think we've hit Gordy territory.
Well, that's
lately,
good.
yeah.
I was hoping that this would be
Yeah, I was
like
gonna say,
a
yeah,
chill
this-
question.
I was in I would say maybe a near incident when I was a little kid.
Oh, shit.
I don't remember the scenario in which I guess we must have been at like some kind of zoo thing. I was with my mom and we were riding a camel. I guess we were on a camel.
As you do.
And the camel was very close to an elephant.
Oh.
And the elephant didn't like that. So there was a bit
That's
of a
scary as shit.
the elephant like lashed out at the camel.
Oh my god.
Oh
And
my
nothing
God.
happened, but we were just on this one
At
animal
the-
who had a problem with another animal.
At the mercy of an animal 3 times the size of
Yeah,
yours.
yeah, exactly.
And I was
You
really,
walked into a turf war not knowing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I was very young
Flying
at
the
the time.
wrong colors.
But it gave me the sense that like, oh, this is not really in the hands of, you think about adults knowing what's going on when you're a kid and like, oh, they've got everything under control.
Wow.
But like, if that had gone badly, no one would have been able to do anything
It's like
about
that
that.
Yeah.
that moment of like,
yeah.
some things are just beyond everybody's control. Some
Yeah.
things just happen.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
it like leveled that sense of like, oh yeah, this isn't a thing that we should be doing at all. Like this isn't.
Yeah, that's
This
terrifying.
is not good
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy because as an
Yeah.
adult, like, speaking for myself, it's sort of like when you're a kid, you're like, okay, adults just kind of like have things figured out. And then when you're like growing up, you're like, so when does just like all of the knowledge of the cosmos just like lightning bolt into my body? And I'm just like,
When's
I
it-
understand.
When's it coming?
And then you just realize, like, especially with our generation, and I love this about all of us, but it's like we're just big kids.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
of
we don't-
You're
course.
like, oh, this is how you do laundry. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is like-
But it's like, yeah,
Exactly.
that early experience of like, oh fuck, like,
Yeah.
y'all really don't know shit. You're just guessing, and
Yeah.
and
Yep.
you're just telling me what has been working for you so
Yeah.
far.
You
And
feel
it was very much a like jupe moment, seeing that the people who were running the show were like rattled. They're like, "Oh fuck, well, zoo's closed, kids. Let's go."
Well, you sort of feel like M and OJ in this because they're kids who were essentially left like alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Afterwards,
Yeah.
without a father figure,
Yeah.
they're just like they're meant to like figure it out. And so
Yeah.
it's like you kind of feel like,
Yeah.
shit, I just
Yeah.
gotta do this now. I gotta grow up.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I had an old roommate who he had a dog that was half pit, half husky, and there were a couple times where he would go on trips and he would ask me to take care of the dog. And the dog actually was like best friends with Yusuke. Like they loved each other.
No.
They loved hanging out together, and they would be like so happy just chilling. Like we would hang out and watch movies, and it'd be like me, him, and Amanda, and the animals would just be like chilling together. And it was just really cool, you know? But then when he would go on trips sometimes, he'd be like, hey, can you feed him for me? I'd be like, yeah, of course. So I walk in and I try to get his bowl, and he just immediately, fur raised, and all that. And I'm just
shit.
like, you ain't eating tonight, bro. Sorry.
Yeah,
And
sorry about it.
it's just
cuz.
like, like I said earlier, that intellectual, like, I'm not afraid of you, but you have teeth.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna hurt me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not that I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna freeze up and I can't do anything against you,
Yeah.
but like, you're my friend's dog. I don't want to have to do it. I don't want
It's
something
not
bad to
worth
happen
it, yeah.
either way.
Yeah.
And
there's clearly a misunderstanding, and you
Ye-
can't explain it to the dog.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can't be jupe out here thinking that like every animal understands. Like it's funny when people are like, "Well, you just can never be afraid of an animal," and it's like, "Well, I don't think that that's necessarily possible."
No,
'cause
that's
it-
healthy.
That's a very stupid outlook on
Yeah,
life.
there's that moment of hesitation, but it's like I'm always like, okay, this is a dog in the street, and I want to help it, but if it comes at me the wrong way, I'm prepared for the opposite thing. You know what I mean? Like not trying to be foolish, not trying to be
Yeah.
overly scared or overly foolhardy.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
but my brother Brett, who passed away earlier this year, when he was pretty young, like 8 or 9 years old, one of my uncles was over, and so I wasn't alive at this time because my oldest brothers are like 15 years older than me. And my uncle had brought one of his dogs over, and I think my family had a dog or something, and the two animals started fighting, and my brother ran over and tried to break them up, and one of them jumped up and bit the side of his face and ripped all of this skin off, and it was like hanging over.
Oh.
and he had to get it all reattached. And so, like, you know, the whole time I knew him when I was alive, he always had like not really a scar, but you could sort of see that like the skin on his face was like redder, and then there was sort of like a dividing line. And it wasn't like really, really bad or anything, but it was just like, because I knew that I could sort of see where it happened. But it's like ever since then, my family's always been like, hey, you know, if they're fighting, leave them be. You don't want them to fight, but like I'd rather they kill each other than any of you kids go through that again.
Yeah.
And you know,
you don't want to get in between that.
Yeah.
God
and I'm not afraid of
damn.
dogs. And neither is he. He ended up having many dogs throughout his life, many pit bulls.
Yeah.
We had a pit bull that had puppies with a Rottweiler. So her puppies were great. We loved those dogs,
that's
you know.
so cute.
But it's just like having that awareness of like, yes, these are all animals with jaws and teeth and claws and their own brains and their own desires and their own fears. You know, so it's like, you just, you know, my advice is just take every animal case by case, be gentle and kind, and if the energy is not returned, keep it moving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on that note, we are going to close her out. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. This was a very special episode, obviously. We're going to try and do more of the filmed episodes so that you guys can see our beautiful faces.
Yeah, I'll try to make the pilgrimage down a couple times a year.
We will absolutely do this, but
Thank you, Clifton, for making this possible.
thank you, Podfather, for everything.
Yeah.
He has been an amazing help to this show. So
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
like we were saying, you know, no one does anything alone, and the idea that like the dupes of the world think that it's all them, they've all got 6 Cliftons behind them. And you know, the problem is a lot of the dupes of the world do not give props to the Cliftons of the world.
That's so good.
So we give our man his due.
Absolutely.
Let's end this with a group hug.
Yeah, absolutely. We will.
We've done the devil's work. What's next? What's the next movie, Evelyn?
Oh, well.
Oh, that is, yeah, that's right.
That would be...
I mean, it could be TBA.
Yeah, but I'm thinking Creep and Creep 2.
Yes.
That's
That
what
double-
we're gonna-
Love those.
Double
Yes.
feature.
Hell
We
yeah.
are gonna-
Yeah.
From the Duplass.
Yeah, dude, that's such a good fucking movie. Yeah, you guys can check us out on Instagram at The Devil's Work Pod. You can check us out on Facebook at The Devil's Work Podcast. We have email set up for you guys. You know, now you guys can talk back to us.
Yeah.
Now you see us.
Now you see us.
Yeah, the Devil's
And now
Work
you don't.
Podcast at gmail.com. We always would love to hear thoughts on the past movies that we've covered, reviews on the movies that we're going to be covering coming up, because we always try to give that little teaser. Just reviews on the show, you know, that always helps too. You know, we really appreciate everyone that's given us the almighty 5 stars.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
really
We're not
silly.
accepting any hate on this movie, so don't even
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah, for real.
Don't you at me?
If you hate on this movie, you're getting bopped on the noodle.
No, but yeah, we would love to actually read some emails on the show later on.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. We want to have that inclusive element.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would
so-
love to hear somebody, you know, hey, I really loved Untamed, or like I really hated this movie, but you know,
Yeah, like any movies that we might have, you know, turned you guys on to, like, or discovered through us,
and
like,
of course
let us know.
suggestions.
Yeah, please. We've been finding out a lot of like really good movie suggestions through the crowd, so it's really
been
cool.
awesome.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys so much, genuinely. Like, we really
Yeah.
you have no idea how much all of this means to us, so we appreciate you. Please review, rate, all of that good stuff on wherever you're listening to this. YouTube, you know, it helps us if
Yeah.
you subscribe. I hear that's the thing that the kids are doing.
That's right. And for those of you listening during the workday, when you get back, tell your boss he doesn't pay you enough. I don't care what you're doing; they don't pay you enough.
True.
Exactly.
You're better than that.
You're better.
We are pro-worker, anti-cop, anti-fuck boy. Now let's go be pro-weed.
Absolutely. All right, you
I'm
guys.
skeptic.
I am PsydeShow.
And I'm Evelyn.
Thank you guys. This is the Devil's Work Podcast. Late.